I want to play in Europe. What the hell does that mean, right? Because Europe could be Latvia, Luxembourg.
No one's talking about Latvia or Luxembourg, dumbass.
But you don't want to just shove it in there. Start with the smaller finger, especially if this is the first time. Start with the smaller finger and go slow.
I mean, there's a lot of things that need to change.
Honey, eating it is the best thing that you can do for your man.
I want people to realize I'm just human. I'm just human, and I make mistakes.
So this guy, Derek, wants to know, is putting your tongue in an ass really the thing to do?
Yeah, it feels really good.
Yeah, just, it's a weird one, I think.
And I know you want me to toss your salad too, don't you? All right, on that note.
What are you saying, bro? You are.
Stop, bro! Stop, bro, help me, I'm stuck!
All right, welcome to the Straight Red Card. A lot to get to today. Really wasn't that much to get to as of yesterday, but then today, I don't know what the
Twitter
hell happened.
Exploded.
So Twitter wars have commenced.
Oh God, it was 8 straight hours of me wiping iPads and debating people. And positively, I don't think I had a single person that was really bitter with me, but I was posting a lot today.
Yeah, and oddly enough, I didn't see any of it. Now, I was only on from
Check your mute. Do you have me muted?
4 to 7. So 3 hours on there. But enough, to figure out what's going on. And then the rest of the world's going nuts too in Los Angeles. So, let's hope everything.
Oh, yeah. I need to pull some dump here.
Well, let's hope it doesn't. Things don't go out of control. That's all I'm hoping for at this point. And there's no riots. Hopefully not. But anyhow, that is what it is. So we have a lot to get to for sure.
I've got video of the riot actually. Hold on.
That thing, that was a post where you comment on something. That was not. Those were soccer fans.
No, they're not, Derek. Stop it.
Those were soccer fans.
This is clearly riots in LA. As you can tell, video just screen of the top right here, insurrection. Look at all those rioters.
I don't think your sarcasm.
My sarcasm. I think it was pretty sarcastic here.
I get it. I got it. The person who commented on it, however, may not have gotten it.
Oh my God, they got matching shirts and scarves too.
I don't know. Maybe it was another compliment because somebody's like, look at these idiots that believe this is really a protesters. No, that was the soccer team fans.
I think they're referring to Kate and everybody in Kate's mentions.
Well, Kate must be an idiot.
I don't think Kate's a real person.
You think she's a bot?
I think she's a content farming bot. Yes.
Yeah.
She does it for the clicks.
For sure.
Double blue check mark, and she's going to get some Elon money.
Yeah. Not the protesters, just to be clear. But there's so many of these. There's so many of these idiots that are out farming for hits, posting up shit that's obviously not protests. And when there's plenty of protest footage, so why do you need to make some up? Just use the real stuff. Anyhow,
I love the responses and quote tweets from LA Galaxy fans.
I didn't read.
Like, oh my God, yes, I would have marked them as insurrectionists too.
Sure, no, I get that. That's where that joke would go naturally next. But yeah, absolutely. All right. Today I'm back to drinking the same old. Since I bought a case of it, I'm gonna have to drink them all. Oh my God. Yep, 3 Philosophers, the best domestic quad made right here in Cooperstown, USA. And I just never get sick of drinking this shit. I just don't. It's that delicious.
Yeah.
All right, what are you drinking?
I am drinking vodka and raspberry lemonade.
Oh. Sugar-free?
Of course.
Yeah, thought so. All right,
it's crystalline.
Well, one thing we're figuring out.
Sweeteners.
Yeah. One thing we're certainly figuring out through all of this is who likes who, right? So we're pretty clear Ronaldo does not like Landon Donovan. We're pretty clear of other people who don't like Landon. Like we'll get into some of that too. We're pretty clear Lawless wants to stay neutral. Doesn't want to get in the middle of it. Although, he has his commentary as well. So
sure. No, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to Landon Donovan. He's just making the news. He's like,
right.
Nothing's there.
Boom.
Donovan's
Something's there.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and it's not so much whether or not you like Donovan or don't like Donovan as a commentator, or maybe you don't even like him as a person, which I think is kind of hard to do. I don't know how you dislike somebody as a person you don't know that well. His commentary has been he's had some bad moments for sure. As a person,
not to say everything he says is wrong. It's just he's had some boneheaded comments.
He has, and I'm not sure this is one of them, and we'll get into the details of that because I think a lot of the discussions that happen, like we saw on Galazzo, and they're completely devoid of any context whatsoever of Donovan's background. Like you just said, well, yeah, we'll get into it. I'll let you start. Go ahead. Start the. You got fluff?
I got fluff.
Okay.
We're gonna get a very fluff-less.
We don't have time for a lot of fluff today.
The thing is, I was talking to the lady who's helping me out with iPads, clean up everything. I'm sitting there chatting on Twitter, and I'm pulling up some AI artwork for I posted on Twitter, and I was trying to explain the podcast to her. I mean, she's older than me, and she's not into soccer by any means. And I was explaining, like, usually I don't tell anybody I work with or associate with the podcast because we have about 15 to 20 minutes of fluff, which can address any topic under the sun.
Yeah.
And
it's like
not that what we talk about is like, yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. It's not like what we talk about is like, like, oh, codes to get fired for or anything like that. But it's like, I don't necessarily need my higher ups listening to Derek talk about how I get pegged every night or something like that,
So you're just saying is you don't get pegged every night?
Not every night, no.
It's just every other night. All right.
Right. Who counts, right? Who counts?
Not the nights where we're doing the show. That's for sure. All right. You're too busy.
Exactly, right?
You're way too lubed up after the show anyhow. So Tom, don't bogart that joint, my friend. I'm just wondering, Tom, when you were going to personally write me and thank me for your nickname song, right? Although Tom Selleck Bogart, I think we have to take the Selleck part off. Didn't he shave the mustache? I think he may have shaved the mustache.
Ooh, man, why would you do such a thing?
Yeah. So might have to drop the Selleck thing.
Just randomly, I'll show up without my beard. That'd be weird.
Yeah, I know. CONCACAF's member associations unanimously rejected Greenland's application to join the Federation. It'd be nice, Tom, if you told us why. It's so fucking unanimous. There's got to be a reason why. Probably the reason is
not a FIFA-sanctioned country. Is that it?
Well, I mean, if they can get this, then they can be FIFA sanctioned. That's the point, right? But some federation's got to be willing to take them. They go play in Europe, they're going to get absolutely crushed. They're going to get crushed here too. Absolutely crushed. But I'm guessing it's because they're not good enough, or it's all the extra travel is a pain in the ass having to go to Greenland. I don't know, but it would be nice to know. Here are the 3 reasons that we rejected you. And if Tom's
quite frankly, it'll fall on CONCACAF if Greenland ever gets to that point.
But
they're not going to Europe.
Shouldn't the report have said, here are 3 reasons why, or the 3 things, Greenland, you need to overcome before we accept you? I mean, I know if I'm Greenland, I would like to know the reasons why. I wouldn't just like to say, oh, they rejected me. Well, why'd they reject me? Am I ugly?
Michael Jones says, guess they didn't want to play in snow.
That's not really the problem. That's not really the issue. It doesn't snow all the time in Greenland. That's like saying Canada.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you know what? Plenty of issues in Canada and Minnesota games. So
I mean, if it's the travel, then Greenland can say, well, fuck it, I guess we're just going to have to try to play in Europe then. Because obviously that's not something we can change. We are where we are. If it's that they're too bad, they stink, well, so does St. Kitts. You know? So I don't know if you can say that. Anyhow, Tom, just, this is an old school thing for me as an old journalist. If I'm going to post something like that, I usually say some of the talk is these are the reasons why. Otherwise, it just sounds like we're racist against Greenland for whatever reason.
I know why. Greenland doesn't want to become the 52nd state after Canada. That's the problem.
Well, good point from Untouchable says, because Greenland isn't green.
Yeah.
False advertising, I suppose.
The Vikings really didn't want people to go to their encampments on Iceland. So like, oh, yeah, this is a land of ice. Go to the one further west. Further west, go. It's green.
Maybe they don't have the facilities. Who knows? I don't know, but I
think they posted a quote unquote professional pitch. Probably had like stands for like 500. It was like an average, Indiana football team.
Right.
High school team, I mean.
It's like a high school team stand. So maybe that's the problem. I don't know. But we don't know because Tom didn't tell us why.
I mean, we have some of these other tiny little island nations that they can't have much more than a 5,000 seat stadium, right?
Right.
Can't be the only one.
Right. Absolutely true. So there are some really tiny Caribbean nations.
Chris Gary says, Brett, shave your beard. If the U.S. men's national team win the World Cup, I will. If we win the World Cup, I will absolutely shave my beard
and his balls live on air,
all in the same stroke.
There'll be a big, it looked like a little lawnmower all the way down to your privates. All right.
Oh man.
You're nuts right now. All right,
yeah,
great.
I know. She's like, how am I supposed to do this?
All right, for the 175 of you here already, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma. We got a lot to get to tonight. And that's for people watching on Twitter and YouTube. Comment, like, subscribe. It's great. Get involved. All right.
Good. Let's do this first.
Trinidad and Tobago for $2. Used to have to play 70% of the U.S. games to keep permit. Used to have to play 70% of U.S. games to keep permit. Oh, work permit. Yes, this is true. And there were times when I think guys would get playing time just so they could get a UK permit. I know Clinton was kind of active in that, trying to help Breck Shea play enough games to get his work permit. So he could go.
Look how that worked out for him. Now he's at the TST Cup.
That's right. And he's bombing it. He's kicking ass there, right?
Well, I think they just lost.
Did they?
Yeah.
Because he's on the CONCACAF. CONCACAF team. Yes. All right. All right.
Now, I definitely remember that being an issue in the past. I think now that our youth have started to emerge, that they stopped really focusing on that. And plus, obviously, with Brexit.
Right. We just missed Frank with a comment there.
Hold on, I'll get it pulled up here. It just went past me.
No more stepsister talk, Derek. We do a lot of stepsister talk here. The theme is still well and alive in the intro. And my post today said, hey, make sure you call your stepsister and let her know. This is a big show tonight. We're going to talk about people that have been on our show.
What to talk about?
I mean, we don't, Donovan's never been on our show, but we know a lot about the behind the scenes stuff with Donovan personally back in the day that will provide some context. And we've known that.
Well, no context that we already haven't provided. We've produced this number of times when talking about Donovan.
Yeah, that's true. But there'll be more people maybe that have never heard it before here today.
That's possible. Yeah. I mean,
So-
it was definitely making its rounds through Twitter. The reasons why Donovan took his hiatus back in 2013.
Right, but very few people mention the divorce.
Yep. And as much as I understand the reasoning, and we'll get into that and everything like that, I can still point out the hypocrisy of him talking about somebody else taking a hiatus from soccer. I'm just saying.
I mean, I get it. I do. I can sense where people would find hypocrisy in it. I just think that it's more complex than that.
He may have a more complex reason, but there's still a reason he still missed qualifiers. So, I mean, it is still a like for like in that sense.
Okay. All right. You want to get into this now?
Not right now, no. I want to do this.
Okay. All right.
Transfer news, transfer news. Who's getting mounted on transfer news? Who's getting over on transfer news? Transfer news. Everyone loves that transfer news, but me. Whatever.
All right, Tom. Don't bogart that joint, my friend.
Transfer first, and then we'll talk about the aspect of the transfer.
Now, the deal is not absolutely done yet, but with Lyon losing its keeper, more than likely to Roma. Okay, so he says it. Good. There is a very good chance this deal will go through. I think they're still going to sign another keeper.
Well,
Lyon.
I mean,
he's going to have to battle for. He's going to have to battle for the spot.
Yeah. Well, no, Lyon has agreed to an $8 million fee with Forrest, and I don't think Forrest is going to say no to that.
Hell no.
Kim, we'll take your $8 million, please, and thank you.
Yes, please take them off their hands.
No, 100%. Lyon's going to go out and get another goalkeeper, and or maybe pull one up from their youth or something like that, or their second team. But yeah, he's going to have to compete still, but he's got to move, and this is what we were talking about.
Yes. So this is a good move in the sense he'll get to fight for a spot where there's no chance he's ever going to play for Nottingham Forest or Crystal Palace. So there you go.
Not in the current state that Forest are in, man. Nunes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nunes really turned that around, man. That went from like a relegation-bound team to not.
But remember, he's done that before. He did it at Wolves.
Yeah.
And then he had one bad season and they fired his ass. So, I've always said that guy's a good manager and that eventually things are going to come right for him. I think he been screwed a couple times.
That relegation bound side for Forest, that where Rain was playing with and everything like that team should not have been in that position. That team had enough talent that they should have been easily mid-table.
Yeah. They had a lot of bad.
Fucked around and found out some games. It happens.
Yep, they did.
That's a curse, right? And there's going to be more EPL talk here in just a few.
Yes, Lyon do have American owners.
Yeah.
And
that $8 million is still a hefty price to fork over for Turner, somebody who's basically rode pine for the last 3 years.
I was thinking more around 6 at best, so he got it.
Thinking less than that. I mean, I think Forrest would have taken anything.
Probably.
Yeah. It's like, hey, we got this 8-year-old prodigy in our youth academy. We'll trade you him for Turner. How about that?
Well, it's just good for Turner, I guess, in the end. So
in the end, yeah, he's still vying for a spot in Europe. He's still going to fight for it. Hopefully he finds his confidence back and rebuilds his career, because it's a shame. Because when he was booming with confidence, I didn't even care about his bad feet.
Right,
I just knew that he was going to stop everything that was going to come to him.
Right, he was a great shot stopper. Yeah. Now that's not even the case anymore. So
not with his confidence, yeah.
Right. I think he needs to find something there. All right. What else we got? More? Belgian club Anderlecht are reportedly interested in Jack McGlynn. If you're asking whether he should go to Bruges, PSV, Real Sociedad, or Anderlecht, I'm saying pick PSV and Real Sociedad first, though I don't believe all these rumors. I'm sorry. I don't. He's got a hell of a left foot. But I think, why go over there if you're just going to go to Anderlecht in Belgium? I'm sorry.
Yeah. I love the fact that just before the game started, I'm going to kind of dab into the Turkey game here. I posted, I was like, man, the only reason, because I wasn't sure how they were really lining everybody up. I'm thinking maybe we're going to do this or this or this. And the people are like, well, he could be lined up, McGlynn could be lined up on the right in the Musa role. And I'm like, because he does it occasionally for Philly, and he does it for Houston occasionally. And I'm like, the only thing I could say is if he starts on the right, him being able to cut in and rip a shot with his left is going to be paramount.
Right.
1 minute and bam. Done.
Yep. Jackie D says Klestin had a good career there. Yes, but that was back when Anderlecht were just always in the Champions League, right? That's not a given anymore right now with Anderlecht.
Yeah.
So if they are in the Champions League every year, I'd say go for it, or at least half the time.
If it was a guarantee, because then that point, I mean, we talk about the Belgian league, and we question the quality versus MLS.
Yes,
a number of people do this,
right?
Minus a couple teams, and if you're on those couple teams, you're not even playing against them. I mean, the quality you're playing against is even further down.
Right.
The big question is: do you go there strictly for the Champions League potential?
Well, Gooch did.
Or do you do what? Oh, Gooch, yeah. But again, that was back in the day, you know,
when he could pretty much depend. There were two teams always going from Belgium to the Champions League, and they're almost always kind of the same two teams or the same four, you know, out of two out of the same four. So yeah, and of course when Gooch was there, they were almost always first in the table. So yeah, it's a better environment. There's more competition, but
again, yes, and this is the argument I always make, right? The competition aspect, because you know, well, not even that, because Anderlecht's not going to get relegated for the most part. I mean, you might have a fluky season where maybe it's a potential, but I mean, unlikely.
But you got big rival games like Club Brugge and
And again, you have players vying for your spot behind you, and if you fuck around for only a game or two, you might find yourself on the bench and somebody else taking your spot, and you have to fight for it again. Whereas, I mean, does McGlynn really have concerns of losing his spot in Houston?
No, he doesn't.
So that's my argument for going to Europe, even on a lateral movement.
Yeah,
when we say like Belgium, Denmark, whatever, Switzerland, Switzerland. You know, Austria. These are all kind of relatively lateral movements with like ups and downs here and there.
Right.
But you do have more and more players vying for your position.
How about Holland being like the worst? That would be that's my bottom right there. If you could go to Holland and you can play for PSV, Feyenoord, Ajax, or one of the teams that's kind of rumbling around the top 4 or 5, fine, go. Otherwise, it's.
What if you can go to Utrecht and then vie for a spot?
Yes, because Utrecht should be vying for a spot if they were able to hold on or get our homeboy Aronson back. But if they don't, they're going to struggle next year again. I can guarantee it.
But I mean, I guess that's kind of my point there too. If you're McGlynn and you're a potential game changer from time to time or whatever, at least maintainer. I mean, you could go to somebody like a Utrecht and be a game changer there. Yes,
just like Aronson was. So, I mean, Belgium's my last pick of the before we start getting to Scandinavia. I don't want anybody to go there. But at this point, if you're good, there's no reason.
Definitely don't go to Greece. Don't go
Sweden, to Greece. Norway, no Greece, no thank you. Just stay visible, and you can do that in Holland. You can still do that in Belgium as long as you're on a team that's playing Champions League. I think you can stay visible.
Yeah. But the argument also is you can do that in MLS too.
Not really.
Well, you can still stay visible. I mean, if McGlynn continues to have a solid season and he's performing with the national team time to time, a championship squad may come down knocking. So
right. I am not getting into this argument about what leagues are better than other leagues. I'm just not. That all depends on how you look at it. We all have a different
right?
one. It's totally subjective. If you're going to tell me a lot of the leagues being mentioned have 3 great teams that would absolutely kick ass in MLS, I'm going to agree with you. Obviously, PSV, Feyenoord, and Ajax would absolutely revel in MLS. They'd have a great time there. But then you get to the bottom of some of those leagues, and they're really, really bad. They're really bad. Not to say that Los Angeles Galaxy aren't bad right now, but I mean, they didn't even lose that many players. How did they get this bad would be my other question, but we don't need to go there. All right.
Where would a team like Westerlo fall?
Yeah, I mean, Westerlo was not that great in Belgium this year. I mean,
you've got Yao and you had Reynolds there. Would they vie better at an MLS squad than at Westerlo?
We know Reynolds
their development as a whole.
Reynolds would certainly start in MLS. We know that for sure. You would suspect Yao would play quite a bit in MLS.
Yeah.
But Westerlo's just not one of the great teams, especially classic team or a team that generally ever has or vies for Champions League spots in Belgium. So all I'm saying is if you're going to go to Belgium, make sure it's on one of the 2 or 3 best teams. It's all I'm asking.
Well, and you're basically that argument would be for again, those teams are being sought out for players by other more higher quality leagues.
Yes,
but also they got Champions League potential. Because,
yes,
I mean, if you're vying for a position at one of the top 1 or 2 in Belgium, and you're playing all the rest of the Belgium, I mean, your league play itself has got to be, well, you better do damn good.
Yes,
because who are you playing against?
Right, which is why we were excited at first when Mihailovic went to Holland, but then it just didn't work out. So for various reasons, some personal. And so that's disappointing. But, I expected him to kick ass there, and he just didn't. And that's disappointing.
Well, he was adequate. He was average. I'd say wasn't really looking to offload him, but he wanted to come back for family reasons. And we talked about that before. I think Colin brought that up a number of times. But yeah, no, I mean, if he didn't have the family issues, would he still be in Holland at this point?
His heart didn't look into it, honestly. I
think it takes some time to adjust and to get assimilated to an environment, if you will.
I don't think he ever did. Because
I don't think he did. No, I agree.
Yeah,
I'm saying it takes time for that to happen.
We never saw him play any game outside of just being a passenger, and that's not good. All right, Leeds United have been in contact with Norwich City, which we've been telling you was going to happen for some time, and for a possible deal with Josh Sargent. They don't currently really have a center forward, Leeds. So going up to the next level, they're going to need one. And Sargent, however, Norwich are looking for 20 mil. 20 mil. Now,
we were talking about last show. You mentioned 30 mil from your contact.
That was their original request.
He's not. I mean, not Leeds. Norwich aren't going to get 30 mil. It's not going to happen.
They're not going to get 20. I don't think.
Not a single team. Well, that's the thing, though. The 20 mil would be reasonable for Leeds in that sense. Because hear me out. Why? With his market value where it's at, 20 mil is not that much more than what he's valued at.
What is it? 17,
16, 18 range.
Okay.
16, yeah, it's somewhere in that area. But I mean, I think the 30 mil is not going to happen ever unless the most incomes are really knocking. And then even then, I don't think Sargent wants to come back.
And they did that on purpose last window.
Yeah.
Because
they do. But as we've talked about, they do have to offload him. They have to offload him and
now they have to. Right. So now they're backed into a corner. So asking for 20 mil seems a little heavy, honestly, to me, even for Leeds. Leeds is going to spend 20 million on a bigger named player than Josh Sargent, I think, frankly.
Well,
you don't spend that on Josh Sargent.
Yeah.
But they do need a center forward, and they need one bad. But
Leeds still has Farke as the manager, right?
Yes.
So he's got experience with Sargent. He understands the player himself. Can they get a better striker than Sargent for 20 million? Sure. I'm not going to argue
Probably.
that.
I would think so.
But, I mean, Sargent's assimilated to the English style of the English game, quite frankly. And, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I think the 30 million is a launching point to try to get as much as they possibly can, but I guarantee you they're going to go to either market value, that range.
Oh, people will just wait around until the last week of the window.
Pretty much.
They'll just sit here. Oh, you want 20? Let's see if anybody else offers you that. And when they don't, then they're going to have to drop the price because they need to offload him. They are out of funny money from the Premier League. It's over. So they need to offload him and Sainz. Those two guys got to go.
Yeah.
All right. I think it'll end up being closer to like 14, somewhere around there, I think, in the end.
I'm going to pull it up here. Sargent. I'm pretty sure it's like 16 at this point. But I don't see an EPL side really paying for full market or over, quite frankly.
I don't think they're paying over because he's still an unproven talent at the Premier League level. I mean, are you really sure that Josh Sargent doesn't go to the Premier League?
That's 16 is the value.
Are you really sure Josh Sargent doesn't go to the Premier League next season and shit the bed? And doesn't get
really
any.
Sure that Leeds doesn't go and shit the bed themselves.
A whole team could shit the bed.
Yeah.
Because that's the trend right now. You go up, you go back down. You go back up, you shit the bed, you go back down. So, I mean, it could be a long, painful ass season for Josh Sargent, which is why we're trying to plead with him. Just go to Germany. Just take 12 million from Werder Bremen or 10 million and go back to Germany. For Christ's sake, it's your level, buddy. I am not quite yet sure. And here's the only reason I'm not sure he's ready for the Premier League. It seems to me when the pressure's on, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on him next season at Leeds if he goes there. And the fans are going to be up his asshole. If he has one or two bad games at the beginning of the season, they're going to be up his ass. Oh, look, another fucking American who can't play soccer. Great. I'm glad we spent 20 million on that. He'll crumble. He will crumble. Look at how he talks about the U.S. men's national team and all the pressure of that. Oh, I'm only going to get one chance. This is it. I'm feeling really nervous about it. God, I can only think what he'll feel when he goes to Leeds. Because Leeds fans are nuts.
So
they'll
I think the common ground though here is that Leeds fans are at least very familiar with Sargent. They know what he can do, and if provided service, Sargent can score goals. Now, here's where it's going to falter, and what you're talking about in that sense is if the service is provided and Sargent flubs for a couple games, then the heat's going to get turned on, and we'll see how Sargent turns up at that point. But I mean, it's one of the few teams that I think the fans would be okay overpaying for Sargent.
They've been asking for him. The fans, you go on the fan.
Aware of who he is and what he can do.
You go on the fan boards. I go on them. They want him. Okay, most of them want him. They think he's the best championship striker, and they want the best championship striker on their team going up. And they don't think the guy playing striker, Perot, is a striker.
Yeah,
he's a CAM.
Well, I don't think Perot thinks he's a striker.
I don't think so either.
Somebody brought it up, and they're like, "Man, I don't necessarily want him to go there. It's possible that Leeds to go down." I'm like, "Yeah, it's always possible." Leeds has to shore up their defense, find a solid center attacking mid, and then at that point, it's just, hey, get your wins when you can get them. Don't fuck around.
It's gonna be a battle next season at Leeds, but it's gonna be battle for any team Sargent goes to that's getting promoted, and those are going to be his main suitors. Right? So there you go.
I'm a Dark Brennan fan when Dark Brennan shows up, but I am not a fanboy of Dark Brennan. However, I am a fanboy of Sargent, and I've argued with you enough about Sargent for you to know that. But don't throw Dark Brennan in my corner there.
Yeah, Dark Brennan is so rare. It's such what Dark Brennan showed up 5 or 6 times, 7 times for Leeds all season last season. That's not enough Dark Brennan. Sorry. I can't even give him that label right now because that's not how he played most of the season. So there we go.
Yeah. And I'll argue it. If Sargent goes with Leeds and he starts scoring goals, I'll absolutely be insufferable, 100%.
He'll spooge right in his drawer.
Fuck it. No, So, but yeah, don't throw Brennan in my corner. I've been a proponent that Brennan has to be Dark Brennan
in order to succeed.
At that point, it rarely happens at this point. But I'm not a Dark Brennan fanboy, so don't put that on me. Untouchables, it's not cool.
Go ahead, put it on him. It's fun. All right.
Do it.
For the 300 of you here now, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with your grandma. We got a lot to go. Still a lot to cover tonight, and even more transfers to cover, I think, don't we?
Oh,
the Rokas. Yeah, the Rokas Puxas agenda may be back. Gattuso and Haydock split part ways with immediate effect. This guy cannot hold down a job, Gattuso. So anyhow, that gives Puxas maybe a chance to become a regular starter again.
I mean,
we'll see.
Split didn't want to split with Puxas.
Right.
We talked about that last week sometime because it was like, that sucks. But then news comes out that Gattuso's gone. So.
Right. Oh, by the way, it's pronounced Club Brugge, I believe, in Belgium. So I know I've been getting that wrong for about 13 years. It's just really hard for me to change my thinking.
Separate Bruges from Brugge.
I've been doing saying Bruges. Brugge? I don't know. I've never been there. I mean, that doesn't mean I shouldn't know how to pronounce the name of it, but I don't. Like I
think Bruges is pretty commonly stated.
Well, at least I don't call Westerlo. Okay, yeah, give me some. All right. Good for you, Pooks. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, I guess transfer news is over.
Okay, cool.
That's all the transfer news, boys.
Transfer news. Everybody loves that transfer news, but me. Yeah. You know, and it's a funny thing you bring up Waterloo Spiders, Lawton, because that's how I tried to explain it to Pete when he was on the show. I said, it's not Westerloo, it's Westerlo. You're getting it confused with Waterloo, which has 2 O's. Westerloo has 1 O. Pronounced differently. All right, the Deuce, the whole show about taking a shit. It's amazing. And you think we're weird for our intro to our show. This show's all about taking a crap.
It's weird.
All right.
Weird.
It is weird. It's very weird.
I wasn't going to miss competitions, but if there was ever a time that I didn't want to go in, it'd probably be when I was in my 30s, when Jurgen was the coach and asked me to go in a January camp. And I'm like, bro, that's the last thing I want to do after a long season, go into damn January camp. All you're going to do is fitness. We have to do a chilly game away from home and then come back and play Panama and LA.
I love the fact he's like, fuck, bro. And they have to curse it out.
Yeah.
But throwing out some curse words in there. I dig it.
He's being honest, but he did go.
Yeah. Like, man, I last thing I want to do after making the move back to MLS is, have to go to this January camp and continue playing, but whatever.
Yeah, keep my fitness up because it's almost all fitness, right? It's those suicide runs. Everybody hated those. Run till you can't run anymore. Like Jurgen was infamous for those. So, yeah, I'm sure he hated it. At 30,
when I played and everything, I would much rather run sprints than run long distance. Like if the coach is like, "Hey, we're going to do wind sprints, or we can run 3 miles." I'm like, give me the wind sprints.
What if the wind sprints were until you drop dead or puking?
I would expect that to be the case. I hate running distance for just running sake. Hate it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Jimmy Conrad will hear this. Chill out, Clint. Untouchable. Don't get a rift started between me and Jimmy again. All right.
We didn't say it.
All right. That took a whole week to repair. All right. What are we doing here?
Brett doesn't know real speed. Brett take a 40-yard dash. You know what? I did. I ran a 40-yard. Don't remember the time. It wasn't bad, but I was significantly fast for my junior and senior year.
Well, you got special training for that.
I went through a running regiment through a program called Acceleration.
Right.
And they have you up on this massive fucking treadmill at ridiculous angles, and you're running at ridiculous speeds for short spells of time. And it doesn't sound like it'd be too much, man. You go through that shit, man. It is like I made their Casper wall 3 times.
There you go. So you weren't that slow.
No.
And I mean, I was no speedster either, but I wasn't slow. I was kind of like, if you put me on the range of all the guys on the field, that's kind of like somewhere in the top 12, 10 on the pitch, maybe. I definitely wasn't the slowest guy on the pitch, but I was not any of them. There were always like 6, 8 guys faster than me. The
Larry, I wasn't in track. I don't know what my 100-meter time would be.
They didn't used to time us.
Shit.
This isn't
19. So there's always 2 types of sprinters. There was the 60 to 60 sprinter, guy who just takes off, dead sprint the entire time, and then there was the guy who would not necessarily have the fastest start, but he would catch up to the guy who went 60 to 60, and then pass him. That's what I always felt like with our team. It was always like there was one guy who was just like, we'd take off, like do a full field sprint. Mm-hmm. And he'd be by the time we got to like the 18, he'd be at the half field. But then we would surpass him and end up beating him in the end.
Right. So he couldn't last the whole game, though. So you were going to get like 4 or 5 sprints out of that guy during a game, and then he was done. Whereas you could continue to sprint. It wasn't fast as he did at the beginning, but by mid-game, you were sprinting faster than he was. Yeah, I had great endurance. This is prior to me smoking. All right.
I never got subbed off. If I got subbed off, it's because we were up, and they're just like, "Yeah, we'll pull Brett off."
Well, you didn't have anybody else.
Yeah.
There you go. You are the guy on the top of the the offensive pyramid. All right. What else we got? Oh, what are we doing with this?
Yeah, I complain. I was talking.
Who are you venting to?
Everybody. I'm venting to everybody, man. Everybody's like, man, they're probably tired of hearing me. I'm complaining to my wife and kids, my mom and my dad, teammates. I remember having a calf tear when I was at Tottenham. My first game back was the damn Denver game in the snow. Is that a game you should be playing in your first game back? Probably not, but I still go. It's just who I was.
There you go. Yep, that was a World Cup qualifier in the snow. He's not missing that. And we'll get into this debate once we get to Donovan.
Ooh. Yeah, so it's okay for him to not miss it. It's okay for others. Yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah, and I'm just egging you on at this point.
No, I mean I don't think. Well, Clint played in that game, the snow game, the infamous snow game versus Costa Rica. So
his point was I'm not going to bitch out. I'm going to go. I mean, I may bitch about it, but I'll go and play whatever I get called into playing.
Right. Well, he didn't bitch about having to play that game. He wasn't happy with the fact that he was just coming back from a calf injury. But in light of the article by Brian Strauss that had come out that same week before the game, that was a huge game for Jurgen Klinsmann. Huge. Mm-hmm. He loses that one. We're starting to think, well, might be time for him to go. All right, what do we got here? Oh, yeah. The infamous rant.
This is the rant. Now, I'm hoping the fact that this is a zoom-in, close-up recording from somebody's TV that we're not going to get dinged for this, but who knows?
Who knows? Yep.
We'll see. We'll just make sure we pause it and make sure it's proper commentary.
And I can't help but think, and I said this in the beginning of the show, this is what it means to represent your country. This is what it means. And if you don't want to take this as a professional soccer player and someone who gets the opportunity to wear that jersey and take it seriously and responsibly, then don't come in.
We got to pause. 19 seconds.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll dive far into his talking points here before too long.
Right.
But again, I just wanted to pause this because we can't just let this run.
No, we can't. All right. I think we're safe now.
This is what it means. He's 40 years old. He's played a long-ass season. He's tired. He's out there grinding, hurt himself in the process, and I can't help but think about some of our
he actually came
right now, not wanting to play in the Gold Cup.
Yeah, he actually came into this game injured. In fact, that's why he limped off the field with like 15 minutes left. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Did Ronaldo? But I understand Donovan's frustration, and we should probably get into what other people said about it. And we can comment on that, I suppose. But my original feeling is I heard it live because I was watching the game.
Yep.
And I said, oh, shit. Somebody's clipping this. Somebody's clipping it.
Yeah.
And as Colin said, he didn't come in. Pulisic didn't come in. So what are you worried about? But, yeah, I knew shit was going to hit the fan. Now, I didn't know that Pulisic's dad was going to get involved.
Yep, we'll get that just a tick.
All right, what do you got?
Guys, got to share properly here. Hold on. Forgot I was doing audio there and then no longer. So Ronaldo says, he felt the injury since warm-up. It's been bothering him for a while, but for Portugal, if I had to break my leg, I would do it. It's a title. I had to play and gave everything.
Well, again, it was a title, right? I think the other thing, and Poach mentions this in his interview with Timmy and Donovan, is I think a lot of the players have come to look on at the Gold Cup as a minor tournament.
I think we as not a fan base to an extent, but as a federation has done that as well, though.
The federation did that.
Once Nations League chimed in, all of a sudden it was like Nations League over Gold Cup. Once we lost the opportunity of being confederations, what's the point? That's what they're saying.
Yes, the context is that, yes, Gold Cup has turned into a BC / squad.
MLS heavy squad, yeah.
However, we got a year until the World Cup. So that's the contextual difference. It's more important now than ever that we have spent as much time together as we possibly can, even if it's just for 2 friendlies. Skip the Gold Cup then. Skip the Gold Cup.
We'll jump. Yeah. So our standpoint, the thing that we've argued for, and you brought this up, and I 100% agree with you, is that he could have come in for the friendlies.
Yep.
Or he could have bypassed the friendlies and just came into the camp and then joined up for knockout stages of the Gold Cup and just played a couple games there. That would have given him the 4 to 6 weeks that he needs to recover from a hip flexor. There were other options rather than just skipping the whole thing.
Yeah, if you throw him in for the last 30 minutes in the friendlies, that's it. And then he doesn't play a single game in the group stage of Gold Cup. And maybe he then plays in the quarters or the semis. Maybe you wait till the semis to even play him in the Gold Cup. There were other ways to do this. Or hell, just send him home after the 2 friendlies against 2 very quality good teams, right? That's an opportunity to have everybody together, including Weah and McKennie and Adams, all in the same camp together, right? For 2 important games, maybe not important in the sense that they're friendlies, but important in the sense this is real, actual good teams. Turkey and Switzerland, top teams.
Yes.
Like, we don't get to face teams in sort of the upper, 5th of the world.
It is quite frankly a wasted window, in my opinion.
And so now it's all wasted because the only guy who showed up was Adams, and now he's got foot herpes. So, it's going around, by the way. Apparently he caught it from Stefan. So anyhow, there are other ways to, this whole thing could have been solved and everybody would have felt fine about it. If Pulisic shows up for the 2 friendlies, plays half of one game and 20 minutes of the next, and then coach says, but now we're sending him home. We wanted the core of the team together, for these 2 big games because they're against really good competition, but we don't think it's worth the risk of playing these European guys anymore. And besides, Weah and McKennie got to go play this Gold Cup thing. So they're going to leave anyhow. You still would have had enough depth to play the Gold Cup, right?
Yeah.
You still got 20 players left.
Dude, for like the last handful of Gold Cups, it's been basically an MLS/fringe Euro squad. I mean,
no, and as
when
you
was
pointed out,
the last A squad we've had at the Gold Cup?
As you pointed out in your X post, none of this needed to happen. That's one way to solve it. The other way to solve it is just to say, if you're U.S. Soccer and you don't want to throw Pulisic underneath the bus, or you're coach and you don't want to throw your player underneath the bus, you just say he's picked up a knock in that last game. Hip flexors hurting worse than ever. He won't be joining us. But they decided to throw him underneath the bus.
Exactly, right? That tells us where U.S. Soccer stands with this whole topic, right?
Right.
Some people are pissed. Whether it's Poach, whether it's U.S. Soccer, I don't know. Who's pissed
I think it's
most?
Both, because they want to sell tickets to this Gold Cup. Who's the number one guy who's going to bring fans out to watch U.S.
Dude, that can't. I mean, that can't necessarily be the it factor there, because we've never had the it factor for any of the Gold Cups over the last decade.
I know, but this could change it. People are going to, look, Pulisic's playing in the game. Oh, I'm watching that. I'm watching it now.
If CONCACAF wants to make the Gold Cup meaningful again, you hold it once a cycle and you make sure that it alternates with Nations League.
Yes, this every year thing's got to stop.
It's fucking ridiculous. Nations League every year, and then you add in the Gold Cup twice a cycle. I mean, you're not gonna market this as a must win. People talk about the Euros. People talk about Copa. It's a prestigious trophy to win. Why?
Yeah,
because it's as frequent as the World Cup.
Here's the crazy thing: the European Cup didn't get overshadowed by Nations League in Europe. But people still wanted to win the Nations League, and they want to win the European Cup now. But they've got it on a rotate that makes more sense, right? because the European Cup is once every 4 years.
And I understand CONCACAF looking at it going, well, we need to maximize as much money as possible. But I think having everything so frequently is actually causing it to not be as fruitful as it could be.
And speaking of frequently, we don't ever, because of all these tournaments, get to play in friendlies against really good teams anymore from Europe. Well, here it is. We finally on a platter. We were celebrating we were going to get to play Turkey and Switzerland. Mm-hmm. We were pretty sure the A team was going to be there for those 2 games. We wondered openly about whether or not some of them would leave after that. We're hoping they wouldn't, because we don't have much time until the World Cup. So I get the criticism, again, that Donovan is leveling here. However, again, it's more like he's saying that those players don't care. Or maybe he's saying they don't care enough, because I do think they care. But then other people said, well, he's hypocritical, right? He's hypocritical because he took a 4-month sabbatical himself after an MLS season ended.
Yeah, we'll kind of jump into that as a whole since we'll talk about this now. But Pulisic's dad had chimed in with ChatGPT asking, hey, tell me about Landon Donovan's sabbatical and why he took it.
Yeah. Well, and before I read this, the fact that Pulisic's dad's getting involved looks bad.
So no. So now here's my take, and I'm sure you've read the Twitter today.
Yes.
I don't mind the fact that his dad came in and chimed in against Donovan, who's clearly making a bold statement against Pulisic.
Well,
I don't mind him coming in there and doing it. As a father, I would absolutely chime in against another adult, ragging on my son. However, my issue with this whole thing is right here. Is that Christian liked it.
Yeah.
That's some passive-aggressive bullshit right there.
Right.
If Pulisic wants to voice his opinion on the matter, he should have had a statement out. He should have came out and said, hey, I respect you, Donovan. I appreciate everything you did for the national team, but you don't understand what's happening here. I've got an injury that's X, Y, and Z. And he could expound upon it.
Yeah.
But sitting there behind the argument of your dad and liking it is just so passive-aggressive for me. I hated that.
I'm sorry, though. Honestly, Brett, if I'm 26 years old and let's say I get cut by a team and my dad's really mad about it, I don't want him contacting or putting out any message in my defense. Fuck that. I'd be embarrassed by it. I wouldn't want my dad to get involved. I can handle my own business. Now, if my brother wants to chime in, that's fine. But I don't need my daddy or my mommy to come in, protect little Derek, okay? I'm 26 years old. I didn't need that. And he doesn't need it either. And he already has Adams out there defending him and McKennie making comments defending him already. Let them. If your teammates want to defend you, fine.
Mark is an adult. He can make any comment he wants to. He's not going to the defense. He's not telling U.S. Soccer. He's not going to U.S. Soccer to tell Donovan to shut the fuck up. He's going out there and he's making a snarky remark. I'm fine with that. I don't care.
You can be fine with argument. It looks bad. That's all. It looks poor to have your daddy come in and chime in and support you, and you're a grown-ass man. And that's all I'm saying. If you're fine with it, fine. I'm not, and a lot of other people aren't either. They think it looks bad, and I agree with them. It looks bad. You let your friends, your colleagues, and your teammates do the support. Even if your brother wants or your sister wants to chime in, fine. Not mommy and daddy. That's got to stop. We've already had too much mommy and daddy business going on with this team.
But there's a big difference between that and the Reina issue. We've talked about that ad nauseum since that Reina has more context with U.S. Soccer was fighting in that.
Brett, nobody has time for all that context anymore. All they know is the Reina parents got involved, and then McKennie's dad's always get involved, and now this. To them, without all the context, because they don't have time to get context for each one of those individual, it's just adding up to looking like they're a bunch of babies. That's what it looks like from the distance. And who else is going to research as much as we do? Nobody. They're not going to know all the ins and outs of all that.
That's the big thing, though, because I feel like we're different than a lot of nations out there where we have this on a fine tooth, comb, just combing through and finding all this shit. I guarantee you there are parents out there for other players when shit like this happens and they'll post something on social media, nobody combs through that shit. But we are.
No, but I also don't see on a regular basis top players in Europe's mommy and daddy coming in
You
on
weren't
Twitter.
looking for it, though. That's the difference.
It's bad look, Brett. It's a bad look, and it's piling up because even though most people still to this day don't have any context for the Reina situation. All they think is mommy and daddy tried to blackmail Greg in U.S. Soccer, which is, we know, completely not true. But that doesn't matter. Then this, on top of the McKennie dad thing, now Mr. Pulisic has to get involved. I think it needs to stop.
But, I mean,
and I don't see anything wrong with it was Pulisic getting online and saying, listen, I understand how you feel, but Landon, I don't think you know what's going on. You're not inside my head and my life. So I don't think your criticism is fair.
Here's my take on the whole thing, Derek. He had three options. He could have said something, he could have said nothing.
Better.
And he could have left social media. Like, just avoided social media as a whole. He chose the wrong option here, quite frankly. The only weak option I saw in this whole scenario was him liking the post from afar. Again, the whole context between the Reina thing had context. The context itself, and we've all talked about it. Everybody knows about the fact that there's contact with U.S. Soccer Federation. Aside from a handful of people, nobody knows who Weston's dad is on social media. Nobody really people follow him, yes, but
only people like us follow him.
True. It might look weak to you, Derek. It might look weak to you, but this is to me. This is just a parent.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Brett. It doesn't. I know have all the context. It doesn't look weak to me. What it looks weak to are the people who don't follow it as much as we do, because the headlines are, and that's what people read, the headlines, okay? They're not going to go and do all their research and find out there really wasn't any blackmail, all right? They're not going to go do that. They're going to read the headlines, and now they're going to build their own narrative around those headlines over and over again. The McKennie dad thing, during that thing that happened, that was a headline. People are reading that. Oh, look,
so
Daddy McKennie involved. Oh, look, now Pulisic daddy involved. Oh, look, that's on top of the Reina's already being involved. What are all these parents doing involved? Yes, they're all three separate, very different situations, which we're not going to get into here because we've covered them all. But the fact is, from the outside looking in, not us, we're on the inside looking in. On the outside looking in, from a distance, for people who aren't going to waste their time with all the details, that's something they can say, look at these kids and their fucking spoiled ass parents on fucking X constantly defending them and getting involved personally in U.S. soccer and coach situations. It looks bad. That's what I'm saying. When I go talk to my parents, they don't know all these details. To them, it looks bad from the outside. My brother, same thing. What the fuck's wrong with all these parents getting involved? Well, yeah, he doesn't know. And so I have to explain it to him. I don't want to explain it to him. Just watch the fucking show, Jason.
But in that sense, though, there is no context behind this one is the problem. This is just straightforward. It's Mark Pulisic versus Donovan. And yes, there are going to be articles that are out there saying
Pulisic's father. I already saw him today. Yeah.
Pulisic likes dad's response on Donovan criticism. But then there's ones like Christian Pulisic's father claps back at Landon Donovan.
Yes.
So yes, there are going to be articles written about this. And yes, it's not going to look great by any means. But in this scenario, there is no context. It is literally just his dad clapping back at Donovan for saying.
That's all the context you need if you're somebody with old school values who doesn't believe mommy and daddy need to come to your defense. You come to your own defense, or you have your teammates come to your defense. We're your coach, not the fucking daddy. So I'm just saying that's what looks bad out in the outside world, and you can be fine with it, and maybe I, within the context, am fine with it too. But it would have been a lot better coming from someone else.
But I mean, again, it's. I guess the big problem here is that people don't read past the little blurb after the title, and that's the problem, right?
Yes.
Because if you do read past the blurb on the title, you find out that it's not like a Reina situation where you feel like your son's being victimized by the coach who used to be a friend of the family, and there's whole drama behind it. you see that it's just, Donovan made a comment about Pulisic. His dad made a snarky remark back.
Although sometimes when you do read the article, you get even more corrupted.
Yeah.
And it turns
That's
into
fair
blackmail,
enough.
right?
Turns into blackmail, right? Yeah.
Yep. Because a lot of these articles are written for hits. So
100%. Yeah, we talked about that just recently.
They're going to blow it up and make it look even worse as they can. Okay, so or they're getting a load of crap from U.S. Soccer, right?
Yeah.
Frank
Kessler says for $5 says it's scary to read. Donovan slams Pulisic on a straight red card video.
Well, at least we didn't say penetrates.
There,
yeah. Thank you, Frank. So again, the hypocrite thing.
Hold on. The ski for $5 says if Christian Pulisic can't stand up to Landon Donovan, he's softer than we thought. Glad I could be here live. Yeah, I mean that takes me back to my point, right? If Pulisic wants to chime in on something, it shouldn't be a like on his dad's post. It should have been an actual statement coming out. He should have stood his ground and said, "Hey." We talked about that already. Hey, this is why X, Y, and Z. You don't know what's happening.
But scroll down and get to actual Pulisic stats comment.
This is it right here. Oh, his actual comment. Yeah, sorry.
Commitment. Look in the mirror and grow a pair. Is that a grown person's way of responding to this? And
Derek,
grow a pair?
I fully suspect this would have been a response from you.
No, wouldn't have done it like this. Call names out and you're afraid to next time you want an interview, you will get rejected again. Like that's already saying there's a rift to begin with. Like this is getting even more personal, right? Nasty. Even though Pulisic's name was never mentioned by Landon Donovan specifically, right?
Sure.
But there's already a rift. We already know a rift exists because of this post. So now it's looking, rather than it being a conversation or a debate or a disagreement, this is just outright nastiness at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I know you made a truthful statement that, yes, Donovan never specifically said Pulisic.
But we all know.
Who could he be talking about?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, come on.
I get it. I get it. But to his defense, he could have said something more personal. He could have used names. Maybe that's what he's saying. Why don't you use names? But you're still not getting an interview anyhow. So go suck eggs.
The chat GPT said Landon Donovan took a sabbatical because he was feeling both physically and mentally exhausted after years of intense competition and the pressure that comes with being a top athlete. He had been playing professionally from a young age. Yeah, so this just tells the fact that Donovan played year in, year out, nonstop, which is factual.
It's factual. He played. What's the but?
But it doesn't tell the whole story, does it?
No, it does not tell the whole story.
So before we jump into other people's topics, let's jump into the whole story here.
Yes. So you want to play Nico Cantor's comments and then I'll jump into some now. Right. Because it directly involves the context of LD's stepping away from the game. And this is infuriating, by the way, to listen to. Do your homework. We're not getting any sound. No sound.
No sound, really?
Nope.
Could have swore I selected properly, but then again, could always be wrong. All right, let me bounce back.
All right.
Missed World Cup qualifying with Jurgen in 2012 and 2013, and ultimately almost probably wasn't fit to make the 2014 World Cup. So,
okay, stop it.
I feel like you might want to say something there.
Yeah, bullshit. He was absolutely perfectly fit. For those of us that were covering it at the time, he had come back. He'd already played a Gold Cup for us and was the player of the tournament in that Gold Cup. All right, scored goals. And when he went to the original training camp for the World Cup, they did suicide runs. Who was the last one standing in the suicide runs? Landon fucking Donovan. He was fit as a fiddle. If you want to say Jurgen Klinsmann didn't pick him because he had a personal vendetta against him, or you want to say the players, or at least Jurgen didn't feel like, as Dempsey said, he was there to plant the crops, so why should he revel in the dish at the table? right? When it was time to eat dinner. I get it. That's fine. But don't say he wasn't fit, because that means you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Not true. Do your homework. Those articles are still out there somewhere in the ethersphere, in the multi-universe there. Go find it. Don't say he wasn't fit. Bullshit. He was absolutely fit. And even guys like after the World Cup, I don't know if I can use his name. Did it ever? I mean, I won't use his name because I don't know if we've already said who it was or not. Said he was fit as a fiddle, and it was an absolute shock. He was fitter than almost everybody else there. He had got himself back in shape after that Gold Cup, and during that World Cup, he was fit and ready to go. So that's not why he didn't make the team. Okay. We were covering it at the time on Big Soccer when it happened.
The sabbatical for Landon, which I would love to go back and see what the media was saying about it in 2012.
Well, maybe you should have. Maybe you should, because those articles, a lot of them are still out there. It
can't be hard to find, right?
Jesus,
I mean, a quick Google search.
Do your homework.
Just ask AI.
I mean, wouldn't you, if you knew this was the topic of the day, at least sit down and do like an hour's worth of research to provide you some sort of context as to why Landon Donovan didn't make the team, and that many people think it was a personal vendetta, and there's actually evidence that it was a personal vendetta because Jurgen's son laughed about it on social media when he didn't make the team and he got cut. Oh, that means somebody had some sort of conversation at the dinner table with dad about how much pain in the ass this Landon Donovan is. And he can't stand him.
Left us high and dry during World Cup qualification.
Fucked me over at Bayern when I took a chance on him. All right, so there's all kinds of context missing here. And this is exactly why we cannot allow the mainstream media to tell the story. Because they don't know the story. They weren't there. And they don't even have the fucking gumption to go check it out. So they do know the entire story before they come up and say, he didn't make it because he wasn't fit. Oh, but I'd love to see those articles from 2012. It must have been crazy town when he didn't make the team. Jesus. Anyhow, that's all I really wanted. I just found that to be very frustrating.
I'm going to play it just a little bit longer to see if there's anything else that's going to trigger you, okay?
Okay.
Which probably had some controversial takes to it, ended up working against him.
Do you think that it...
So him missing out those World Cup qualifiers worked against him, not because he wasn't qualified or a quality enough player for the 2014 World Cup, but because, again, as we mentioned earlier, it really widened the rift between him and Klinsmann.
It widened the rift, and it gave an easy excuse for why he wasn't going to make the team, because he didn't want him on the team in the first place.
But the sad thing about that all is that issue, that sabbatical, occurred for like 3 or 4 months or whatever during the off season. Yes, he missed some World Cup qualification games, and that sucks, quite frankly. But
he missed 3 games, I believe.
Well, he missed 3 games during the sabbatical, yes, in 2013.
Yes, 3 qualifiers.
He wasn't included in the June window that followed that either. So at that point, I mean, Klinsmann had all the opportunity to include him at that point. So he had taken some months off during the winter, during his off season, but he was back at LA Galaxy. It was like March 25th or something like that, 28th, 25th, whatever. I saw it, I read it today.
And to provide even more, go ahead.
From March 28th until June, he was playing with LA Galaxy. Now, mind you, you could sit there and say, well, maybe it wasn't the best of 3 months worth of play in MLS or anything like that. But you had all the ability at that point to call him back in. It's not like he was continuing his sabbatical at that point.
And can I provide more context, Stephen? All right, a couple things. First of all, we start off with the fact that literally Landon Donovan had been playing for 2 years straight. He went from LAFC to loan to Everton, back to LAFC for this next season, on to loan to Everton again. That's 2 full seasons of no break at all. Okay? There's like a week break between those. And his wife divorced him, sleeping with some other dude. Absolutely devastated him. And anybody that knew him behind the scenes said he was absolutely in a state of depression, like serious, bad, like thinking of self-harm kind of depression. Okay? That's not good. He had to go. He had to get out of LA and go somewhere else. He had to get the fuck out of LA, though. And so we got to take all of that into context as well. So, and plus, he was already in his 30s, right? So he's already he's been fully committed right? For how many years? Fully committed.
Yeah.
Since 2019, he had been fully committed to the national team. And now we're talking 2012, right? 2000. Oh, yeah. I meant 2001.
Yeah.
He'd been fully committed to the team.
Wait a second. 2019? What are you going to the future?
Now we're talking a decade after he's already been playing on the national team. He takes his first break from the national team and soccer ever because of depression. The divorce weighed on him heavily. He definitely said this to people that we know that have told us something about this. So we can tell you that, it's just never included in the explanation, was almost heavier than playing for 2 years straight. So is it still hypocritical? Good question, BMR. I have no problem with LD taking the sabbatical, but it seems hypocritical of LD to call out Pulisic when LD had no idea what Pulisic is going through. Correct. And I think we don't know what Pulisic's going through because he hasn't told us.
We have an idea. So we have this picture. Obviously, U.S. Soccer came out and said, Pulisic's not coming because he needs to take a rest because he's been playing so much.
They threw him under the bus.
LD's camp came out immediately following that, saying, "Well, Pulisic's been dealing with a hip flexor since March. He's been taking injections just to get through the games."
Right.
And then AC Milan came out and said, "Yes, he's been dealing with an injury since March."
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, there's nuances here. I mean, it begs the question as far as, why couldn't he have taken that break before then if he's been dealing with this issue? Does it not bode well for Pulisic from the club standpoint that your club's willing to just postpone recovery to win some matches? But I mean, AC Milan is also the entity that's paying him his salary.
So they are kind of like, I don't care if you've got a cold.
Exactly.
You're coming to work.
You're going to keep playing here. All right,
Yep.
Now you're good to go. So, of course, we've had the argument. We made the statement, why was he playing in a meaningless game at the end of the season? People brought up to our attention that, well, it's not necessarily meaningless to AC Milan because the difference between, say, like 8th and 9th could be X amount of dollars. I'm not sure how much of a difference that really is. So at least I can understand where AC Milan's coming from because they don't care about his national team career.
No, they
don't care about us as fans.
No.
They care about their club.
That's it. And that's all. I think the thing here, if we can really sum it up, is Landon Donovan, what he said was fine, but the way he said it wasn't fine. And in the context of using Ronaldo as the example wasn't fair or fine. And I have to agree with Mark. If you're going to call somebody out, call them out. Use their name. But you know what? I just think that he's not the right messenger because we just provided all the context for why LD finally took a break after playing for the national team for 11 years straight. But people aren't going to know that. So they're just going to find out, oh, look, he took a break too. Hypocrite. Yeah. So that's where we're at. And maybe that was just the wrong guy, or maybe he could have said it differently. Maybe.
Well, and I said it was hypocritical that he was criticizing another player for taking a break when he, in fact, also took a break. Now, of course, they have their own personal reasons why they took their breaks, but it still happened regardless.
I mean,
Donovan, we talked about, had a physical and mental breakdown. Pulisic, as far as we know, just has a physical breakdown. I doubt there's really much of a mental breakdown on Pulisic's side there, but still, injuries happen.
Well, injuries,
and whether or not it's serious enough that warrants him not to participate in this cup when he could just miss out on the preseason. I don't know.
So we already said there could have been other ways to solve this problem. Unfortunately, either U.S. Soccer and Poach are too stupid to come up with them, or they were proposed and rejected. And we don't know the answer to that. It sounds like that discussion may not have even happened. Hey, why don't you just show up to camp? We'll throw you in for 10 minutes in the first game. We'll give you a break, and we'll play you in the next maybe 15 minutes in the second, and then you take a break. You don't play in any of the group stage games of the Gold Cup at all, and maybe we play you in the semifinals and the finals if we get that far. And if we don't, you don't play at all. How's that? Does that work? Because that's an option. And again, it just sounds like all this could have been avoided. by A, using that method, or just bring him to the friendlies and then let him go. That's B. And C, just make up an injury, a worse one. Just say, hey, this hip flexor, I really busted it up in this last game. It's bad now, so I won't be coming. And U.S. Soccer says, bad hip flexor, not coming, injury, knock, whatever you want to call it.
So Colin's been asking, why is it hypocritical? Because I've been saying it's been hypocritical. I don't give a fuck that Donovan didn't take a break until 14 years of his career. That's not my point. My point is that he took a break. He took a break because of a physical and a mental breakdown. The mental breakdown, probably the biggest factor, quite frankly.
Yes.
Playing week in, week out, you could take some time off. You can recover physically. But he was going through a fucking divorce in the midst of being, of being under a fucking microscope, magnifying glass of his stint at Everton, because he's got the stigma of Landy cakes. He fails in Europe all the time. You had the Bayern issue. It was just one thing after fucking another for him, and he needed a sabbatical. Again, I don't blame him for taking the time off. He needed it.
Well,
I do end up blaming Klinsmann for not calling him back in. But my reasoning for calling it hypocritical is you have a player who had to take a break for whatever reason. And his personal, his physical, mental, like I said.
Okay.
Criticizing a player that clearly he's questioning Pulisic's desire and need to want to play for the U.S. men's national team because he's asking for a break.
Hold on. That's what it looks like to people without context for sure. Because they're going to say, hey, he took a break, they took a break. They both took breaks. Hypocritical. But what I just explained through context would make Landon Donovan's break seem like a rational break to take. Because he's breaking down mentally. He's broken down physically. He's a fucking mess. He's got to get out of LA because his wife is there and she's about to get remarried already. Like already. They just got a divorce. That tell you all you need to know about what happened there. And I think Colin's got a point.
You're a giant twat, man. You are just a giant twat. You shouldn't be criticizing him because you suck and aren't a pro. I'm not doing that, dude. You are failing at all aspects here, buddy.
Don't
right off.
Let's don't be personal, Colin. All right, let's not go there. All I'm saying is if you know the context, you know why he had to take a break. We don't have all of the context for
I don't think Donovan has all the context here, is my point.
Correct. He doesn't. He has no context.
That's what's being hypocritical. That's what I'm saying.
It definitely can look and seem hypocritical, and I think he approached it the wrong way. All I'm saying, it may not be hypocritical in the sense that I think that Donovan's situation was real. Now, the problem with his comments are that we don't know the actual details of Pulisic's situation. It only took us years to find out all the details about Donovan. We will probably never know for years what's going on here with Pulisic, and I think we should cut Pulisic some slack in this situation because we don't know how bad that hip flexor is.
But
we really don't.
You've made my point.
I just think the word hypocritical is not even a useful word in this conversation.
It's hypocritical of him to judge somebody's stance with the U.S. men's national team without having the full context. Just like it'd be, it's just like
I would call that. I call that being ill-informed, but I wouldn't call it hypocritical.
Whatever. I mean,
so this is semantics, but I just not going as far as to call Donovan a hypocritical person, or that his comment was necessarily inherently. It might be extremely ill-informed, though, and in that fact, if we find out for how bad that hip flexor really is and what kind of treatment it needed. But then again, U.S. Soccer threw him under the bus. They didn't mention the hip flexor. That had to be Donovan's camp and AC Milan coming out with it. That's crazy.
Well, you mean Pulisic, but you have to assume that Pulisic didn't just reach out to U.S. Soccer and said, "Hey guys, I'm tired. I've been playing a lot. I'm going to take this one off." I guarantee you, they reached out to him and said, "Hey, I've been playing nonstop for 2 years here." Between national team and club team, I'm dealing with an injury since March. I need to take some rest. And then U.S. Soccer comes out and says, hey, Pulisic's not going to come into camp. He needs to take rest.
Yeah.
So I highly doubt that he went to U.S. Soccer and didn't mention the injury, or the fact that they've probably been in communication since March.
And then they threw him under the bus.
So
they threw him under the bus on purpose. And then Poach has been going out there doing interviews with people saying, I don't think our guys know how important. every game is and how important it is to wear the shirt and represent your country. I think a little of that's been lost on some of these players. Like, he's not helping either. So that's why we're all come to this, head of this conversation exploded today, because it's been building up to it, because we're getting contradictory comments. We're getting Poach saying, oh, well, he's got a bad injury. No, he's not saying that. He's saying, I don't know. Some of these guys, unnamed people, they don't seem to have passion for the, what it means to come in and play for the shirt. We got U.S. Soccer saying, oh, he just needs a break. He's tired. It's been a long season. But then we got AC Milan saying, no, he's injured. We got his camp, Pulisic's camp, saying, oh, no, he's got a hip flexor. He's been taking shots for every game just to play. Well, when all those things are at a head, right, there's enough room here for a debate, isn't there? Because it's interpretations being left wide open for everybody to interpret. Or why doesn't Poach tell Timmy and LD, no, he's hurt. He's hurt. The flexor's pretty bad. He's not coming. Instead, we get a 15-minute rant about how our players don't know how important it is to play for the jersey, and that how all the other big players in the world are so passionate about their teams, they wouldn't skip a game. Go watch the interviews. Poach is the one throwing him under the bus. Landon Donovan's just getting too overexcited about it because he just interviewed Poach, and that's now the last person he talked to about it, right?
Yeah.
So he's just continuing Poach's rant, except in a meaner, nastier, more public way at the end of a broadcast between Spain and Portugal that a lot of people watched. So that's where we're at. This isn't Pulisic's first break from the UN. No, he doesn't play in Gold Cups because it's becoming an unimportant tournament. That's not really on him, though.
Well, yeah, it's not even that, but it's that U.S. Soccer and CONCACAF scheduled the Nations League, and up until just this last one, most of the time, Nations League fell in May or June or something like that, and then the Gold Cup is literally following the Nations League.
Yeah,
and keep up, relations with their clubs in Europe and stuff like that. It'd be hard pressed to say, hey, we're going to borrow our players for a month and a half, and you'll get them right before the season starts.
Yeah. So the breaks have not been his fault, the breaks that he's taken so far. There were a lot more with all the Nations League stuff. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of games to play. And this is on top of Champions League and on top of league play at AC Milan. Cups. So I'm sure if I were able to get on the phone with Mark Pulisic, he'd tell me what was really going on here. And maybe that's what a Mark should have said in response to Landon Donovan instead of the nasty shit that he put up, which was quite personal. Listen, my son's going through a hip flexor issue. If you want to continue to bash him on national television, go ahead. But it's a real problem, and it needs to be handled in this break.
So I'll say people, because there's been a lot of conversation on shows and on tweets and stuff saying that there's a lot of European players are probably looking at Gold Cup and saying like, well, it's beneath them, but they'll show up for the Copas, they'll show up for World Cup qualifying and stuff like that. But I think the issue here in the past, there's always been Nations League butting up right against Gold Cup.
Yes.
So before Nations League, you still had European players coming back and playing because it was the only thing that was going on during the summer.
And it was the tournament of our CONCACAF era.
So now we have this butting up against it. And it's not – if Pulisic was 100% healthy, I don't believe there'd be a chance in hell that he wouldn't be at this camp. He wants to play for the U.S. men's national team. The fact that people are questioning his dedication to the badge is beyond me, quite frankly. But I think he's looking at this as his opportunity to recover.
He wouldn't be the first person I'd question. I got issues with other people too. We've talked about on this show. But I do wonder sometimes, based on the lack of chip on some of the bigger name players who play with the biggest clubs, I still think that's missing. I think they already feel like they've made it. And I hate to break the news to them. They haven't made shit.
There's a lot, again, there's a lot of me looking at this sort of like the MLS goggles, quite frankly, where you have the starters of the team and you're looking at the replacements going, nobody's going to replace me.
Right. And that's the other thing. Are they really going to kick me off the team because Zwatsky played better than me this game? Or is
Nendejas really going to replace me?
Is Berhalter really going to replace me in the midfield? Honestly, come on. What are the chances of that? So, and then we to be fair to Weah and McKennie, we don't even know if they were asked to come to this camp.
Well, I mean, you got to take Poach's word at the time. Poach came out at Nations League and said, hey, this is the only opportunity we're going to get to evaluate Gio Reyna because he's going to be with Dortmund at Club World Cup.
Yes.
So at that point, I'm interpreting that as the players who are going to be at Club World Cup were never going to be included in this roster at all.
Right. So I don't think they were asked to come.
Yeah.
I'm just going to, based on that comment by Poach, but we all know how coaches can be contradicting.
Oh, sure.
So it could be that's true for Reyna, but is it true for those other two? Maybe that's just an excuse for not having Reyna on the roster at all. Which, by the way, he's already said he doesn't play the kind of way that I need him to play in my system. So that's already a scary comment for starters on Reyna. Siphon says for $20, thank you, brother. We do appreciate it. And thanks to the 378 of you who were here just a second ago. We do appreciate it on a busy Monday night. I think the real issue is that the national team was not in the dire straits during Donovan's times as it is now. That's a good contextual point. During Pulisic's time and the significance of the World Cup next year, all the players need to be 100% in right now, which we have said on this show. That does make this Gold Cup a lot more important than it would have been otherwise. There aren't many friendlies. There aren't many windows open for us to pull our shit together because, God damn it, we look bad. We have looked bad for a while now. We've lost to Panama. We're on a 3-game losing streak.
Yep.
Yeah.
3 out of 4. Yes, I think the issue is here. I made this comment on Twitter and somebody else brought it up too. But if we were winning, say if we put in a better spell again in Nations League and
Copa America.
In Copa America, we performed better. We were looking like we're a competent team.
Yes.
The omission here wouldn't be thought of. It wouldn't be thought of at all.
Right.
Like, okay, Pulisic's not healthy. We need to let him recover. But the fact of the matter is that the team has been playing poorly. And we're sitting here like, this is one of the last few windows we're really going to have until next World Cup. So we need to have everybody on board.
It's a new manager too.
But it's ignoring the point that we still, at the same conclusion, we still want to make sure that Pulisic's 100% going to the World Cup. Of course, we can't predict the future. He might
he could get injured
do
right
something
before
serious right before the World Cup. I'm just saying you don't want to. We would have been fine if we were winning matches to give Pulisic the pass and say, "Well, I'd rather him recover, join back up with AC Milan in the upcoming season, and be sharp and ready to go for the World Cup." But we're not playing well, and that's why we're really throwing a hissy fit here.
I mean, if we're really, really that concerned, I suppose we could lock Pulisic in a glass case and break the glass when we need him for the World Cup and don't let anybody else touch him. But we can't do that.
No.
So as you said, he could get injured anyhow.
We can't predict the future, guys, but we can look at the present and the context and say you could agree, oh, maybe he needs a break. He needs a break. He needs a break and recover. Or you could disagree and say, well, you need to go and play. Or like you could find the middle ground like you and I have been saying. Come play, we'll manage your minutes. We'll ship you back home, and you can rest and recover before the season starts.
And all this whole debate could have been avoided if we didn't have a fucking Club World Cup. Things would be a lot more clear about Weah, McKennie. Yeah, I mean, it would be. We know that Jedi's not there because of a surgery, so that's all legit. It's all legit. All right, not to say that Pulisic's hip flexor isn't legit. But it doesn't sound like Landon Donovan's heard the word hip flexor yet. And certainly Poach didn't tell him there was a hip flexor issue. He never mentioned it once in that hour-long interview, which I watched the whole thing of. or whatever length it was, 45 minutes. So, I mean, he's just going off of what Poach told him personally. Yeah, these guys, they don't respect the badge. Not like the top players I've coached. And he listed all the top players he coached. Oh, when it comes to the national team, that's everything for them. All right, Joey for $4.99. What we do know for sure is that many people need to be fired. This hurts an already unpopular team. That is such a great point. So my parents and my brother don't know much about this team. But when I drove to my parents' house because I was prepping dinner and watching the game, the U.S. game, my mom watched the first half and she was done. Done. Didn't know any of the players' names, wasn't familiar with anybody. And of course, she should have waited because then Adams came in second half. She does know him pretty well. But she was just like uninterested. So on top of
good, sorry.
I was going to say, so she's disinterested because she doesn't know the players. And yet my dad read an article about how like 6 or 7 players of our best players aren't even going to be at this tournament. He was totally disinterested, absolutely disinterested, and asked me, I provided him the context, why are all these kids wimping out on this Gold Cup? What's going on here? So I broke down the names in the article, and he's like, okay, I get it, but I'm still not interested in the friendlies.
Sure.
Because he doesn't know any of the players anymore. So that's fine.
I was going to make the comment. Your mom said like she watched the first half and she was done. Because that's like the tale of two halves. And we're going to get into that, our breakdown of the match. But I thought the first 20 some odd minutes were great. There's just some very exciting plays moving forward, and we were moving the ball and possessing. And then we gave up 2 crappy goals and then, didn't have any answer for the rest of the half.
Well, we
made some changes in the halftime, of course.
It did look like we were falling back into a lot of bad habits, old Berhalter habits of passing it sideways and backwards and sideways and backwards.
We'll get into that too.
Yeah. But we'll get into the breakdown here soon. The last thing I'm going to say on this is what this is all kind of leading me to believe is there are a lot more petty fights between people. We already know the pettiness when it comes to Herc and Winalda, but apparently there's also pettiness between Landon Donovan and Winalda. There's a theme here.
Oh, I'm pulling it up. Don't worry.
And we're starting to find out what side guys fall out on, right? And I didn't know there's this much pettiness between the groups. I'm glad that we've had many of them on our show and didn't know. We knew about the Herc one, right? Yeah. Because we talked about it with Eric. Of course, we stayed out of that shit.
Real quick before we jump into some of the players and stuff like that. DJ Med wants to know if do you guys think the Davies incident with Canada made European clubs reluctant to send players?
I don't know. I don't think so. I just can't imagine that.
Well, I mean, clubs are reluctant anyways.
They are because
Injuries
they need
happen.
them.
Yeah,
right. So I understand the reluctance to begin with, but I don't think it made them any more reluctant. And it would shock me if this was somehow Jesse Marsh's fault, and that Davies came up to him in front before the game and said, "I don't want to play it." And he said, "I don't fucking care if you want to play it or not. You're playing." I don't see that happening. I don't see Jesse doing it. I don't see Jesse pressuring a guy to play. I just don't. I don't see it.
Yeah.
I
agree. I don't think that this is that closely isolated, because clubs are absolutely reluctant on releasing players for that reason. The players can go to these games and get injured. Whether you're a European player getting released and you're going to play Latvia or Luxembourg and you get injured, it doesn't matter if you're playing them or if you're playing Panama or Guatemala. You're still playing an international game and you may still get injured.
Did you get the Eddie Johnson one too?
I got that pulled up, yes.
Yeah, so we're kind of seeing who's falling on what side of the argument, and it's not all the time neutral. It's not like sometimes it sounds really personal about why they're falling on one side or the other. Alexi says, I have no problem with Pulisic's dad defending Pulisic, RE criticism over his decision to sit out the summer. That's what family does. but it's still an unnecessary and dumb own goal and a bad look for the players, agents, coaches, team, sport, given current negativity and apathy towards the U.S. men's national team following recent failures. And he's not wrong. CP is a team leader.
It's like Lawless took my argument and your argument and meshed it into one tweet.
Yes, CP is the team leader, a best player, and we're a year out from historic home World Cup. Yeah, he's right. And I've never seen this much apathy. Like my parents, who would watch every single U.S. men's national team game and have for decades with me. When it was on TV, they were watching it with me. Or they were home, and I'd be texting them back and forth about the game. My brother, same thing. What's going on? And they're casuals. The casuals have totally checked out. We just played a game against Turkiye, and the stands were 60 to 70% Turkiye fans. In the middle of, where was that game playing? Nashville?
No, it's Connecticut.
Connecticut, East Hartford. They're going to Nashville. That's right. That's unreal. That is unbelievable. We did not have a home game for that friendly. That's crazy. Like, people are shut down. They are so fucking done. And as Wallace likes to say, the likability factor of this team is extremely low. No, Herc says that. This team has a low likability when they're some of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, right? Everybody says that that's met them. But we don't want nice guys on our national team. We want ball busters. We want ankle kickers. We want warriors like Clint Dempsey, Jermaine Jones. We want to respect you. That's when we like you. We don't like you because you're super nice guys. That's not going to get you anything. Nice guy.
The apathy for me and everything, what I classify as apathy for me, it comes down from, we watch these players week in, week out playing for their club team, and they're playing hard, they're fighting for everything, and then they come to the national team game and they still fight, but it's not the same drive.
No.
And that's the issue I think we're experiencing. And that's what's drawing the narrative as far as like, oh, these players, these European players, these players who are on top teams around Europe, look at some of these matches, these friendlies against Panama or Nations League or what Gold Cup, and they look at it going like, it's kind of beneath me.
The apathy is real for the fans. It's out there. It's even there's a lot of apathy with guys that have been following this team for years on end. Not Brett and I aren't suffering from it. No. We've been on covering this sport and this game for too long. We're not going anywhere.
And I had the comment with Scuff where Scuff was talking about the injury to Adams, and I go, maybe they're just keeping him, safe for the Gold Cup. He's like, I'm done with being optimistic about injuries, and I go, well, I'm always the optimist. I'm a Fire fan for decades. You have to be.
Yeah, right. Well, I do think that the apathy here is absolutely real, and it's disappointing, but I absolutely understand it. And I think why we can get away with that, we've been through hard times before. Hell, I started watching this team in 1986. Okay. Actually, I started watching it before that, but you couldn't watch it except for somebody had to manage to get a copy of the game. Right. Then you watched it a few weeks later. But for the most part, you could only follow the results in USA Today.
Yeah.
But once the game started playing, I've been watching it since the 80s. And so I'm used to the days when qualifying for a World Cup was a fucking miracle. And now it's just a fucking given. Am I not disappointed with how things are going right now? I am fully loaded disappointed, but not to the point where I can't contextualize it with where we're at back in the day to where we're at now. I can see how we were going up and up and up and up and up, and how we're kind of taking a little bit baby dip down as far as commitment goes. But I don't lose any sleep about this. I just don't. Maybe the biggest issue with the players in the current U.S. men's national team pool is that their family members are too involved and have fought too many of their sons' battles for them. John McKinney, Clay. Yeah, this gets back to our other debate.
Yeah.
I think from an outside
point,
looking
people
in,
are recognizing it.
yes. From the outside looking in, you're saying, hey, all I see are a bunch of parents who keep getting involved. If you're inside the game, you're like, well, there are reasons for each of those different things happening. But Landon Donovan's the problem with two of them, right? He's the McKinney one and now the Pulisic one. How does Landon?
I have to go back. I have to go back to see. I'm sure you had some kind of comment about Reyna as well at some point. But yeah, Weston and Mark John and Mark are definitely there because of what Landon said.
Now this is Taylor kind of taking an in-between position, kind of like Lawless just did. Well, I agree with a lot of what LD said about playing for your country. We can't forget his sabbatical during the World Cup qualifiers, and nonetheless led to him being left off the. No, it didn't. Like Taylor knows this. He knows this. That's not the reason he got left off the World Cup roster. Again, I wish people would quit saying that. That is not, in fact, what happened. That's what the narrative is that Klinsmann wants you to believe, but that, in fact, is not the issue. He needed a break, and Klinsmann didn't forget. I guess, no, he didn't forget that because he wanted to use it as an excuse. That's why.
I mean, maybe that's Twellman right there kind of pointing out that this was a personal decision to leave him off the 2014 World Cup is because Klinsmann felt burned by him taking a break, which was only part of this situation, and decided at that point, I'm not including him.
He also suspected Donovan of being one of the Brian Strauss leakers. People don't bring that up either. He suspected him, Bocanegra, for whatever reason, Klinsmann was able from somebody to confirm Bocanegra was one of the leakers, and he lost his armband in front of the whole team. In front of the whole team. He said, not only you're not starting, you're no longer the captain in front of the whole fucking team. Embarrassing him. Never told him why. But he suspected that Bocanegra was one of the lead leakers of the Brian Strauss article for the Costa Rica game. And he suspected...
John does say Donovan was a leaker. So even John,
he may have been one of the leakers, for sure. And I think Klinsmann felt betrayed big time by that article and the leakers in that article who were not named. We had our own suspicions back in the day who some of those were, and I never ever did talk to Brian about it, but it was a hard-hitting article for sure.
Well, and nor should he have expounded upon who it actually was at that point.
Right. No.
Even if it was behind closed doors with you.
I would not have wanted Brian to tell me at all. He needed a break, and Klinsmann didn't forget. Many at the time were wondering why and how was this happening at the moment. But it did. We weren't wondering. How was Taylor wondering? He's got more inside contacts than we do. And yet, for the ones we had, we knew what's going on. I just don't understand why this is a fucking mystery to these people. I gave LD the benefit of the doubt, as I will with the current players. Yeah, we were able to eventually get all the context of what was going on with Landon Donovan, because he's not going to come out and say, I'm fucking suicidal because my wife has slept with another dude and divorced me, and I'm supposed to be the superstar, and she isn't interested in me anymore. Yeah, I mean, it was very personal and very mental for him. But he didn't want to say that, so he just said he was tired. Right?
I thought the Pro Soccer Wire article here would have been about maybe context as far as why he took his sabbatical, but it's just an article from 2024 where Klinsmann admits that Donovan's sabbatical led to a 2014 World Cup omission.
Wasn't Taylor around then? Wasn't he doing media?
He might have just been retiring by that point, 2014.
Maybe so.
I mean, he was an early pundit leading into that 2018 cycle, because I mean that brings the famous "What are we doing?"
Yeah.
Quote.
Well, I guess we've had a lot of the 2002 team guys on our show over the years, starting back in 2011. So, we found out things in private. Maybe he doesn't know those guys, so maybe he didn't ask.
Taylor retired in 2010, apparently.
Yeah, so
games. So he should have been aware.
He should have been aware of what really happened there, and it's just astonishing to me.
Even here, though, because he says, I gave LD the benefit of the doubt, and many times we were wondering why and how this is happening, but it did. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. But he doesn't expound upon what the break was. As mentioned, no context involved here.
No,
and
but
he gave him the benefit of the doubt, but does he actually forgive Donovan for taking that break at that point? He doesn't expound on anything.
Everybody, I mean, I don't know. I guess we assumed a lot more people knew why he got cut from the team. And, I mean, it was a big, big deal because Jonathan Klinsmann put out a big ha, ha, ha. Landon Donovan got cut from the team. Ha, ha, ha. Laugh, laugh, laugh.
Yeah.
And then he deleted it. Why did he find that so funny? He found it funny because Jurgen Klinsmann had discussed with Jonathan how irritated he was not only with Landon Donovan for that, but probably his suspicion that he was one of the Brian Strauss leakers, even though he couldn't prove it.
Yeah.
It sure sounded like some of that criticism sounded a little like Landon Donovan criticism in the article. I can't prove it either. But if I were him, I would have been suspicious as well. But it was personal. It was not about his fitness. Don't buy that bullshit. It was because he couldn't play anymore. He was just got the golden ball or whatever award for the Gold Cup. So that's not it either. It wasn't because, yes, okay, is an unfeeling, hardcore German like Klinsmann going to be kind of irritated with Landon Donovan not wanting to play at 3 games in a row qualifiers? Yes, he probably was irritated by it.
You want to know some more context behind the whole Donovan thing and the omission and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the Brian Strauss article that came out right around the Snow Bowl.
Right.
Snow Bowl occurred on March 22nd, 2013, which was during his sabbatical, right before he rejoined with LA Galaxy.
Yeah. Yep.
So
yes.
How much of that betrayal could have been due to Klinsmann saying something while Donovan was taking a sabbatical during qualifying?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's like, well, fuck this guy. I'm going to start saying some shit.
Right.
I didn't even realize that's an interesting timestamp.
Oh, yeah. It's not it's not just coincidence, by the way. Anyhow, that's all I got on this issue for the most part. I think we covered it, unless you got more.
$1.99 said Neymar, Mbappe, etc. Parents will defend their kids. Yeah, a couple of the French. Rabiot, was Rabiot part of the Mbappe?
Yes, debacle? And did it look bad then too? Absolutely. It made them look like a clown show. Parents fighting in the fucking stands and arguing in the stands against one another during the World Cup. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, that's analog. Get digital and start doing it on Twitter instead.
Yeah. They did it in public. They're such idiots.
Yeah. Man. Let's see.
In front of cameras.
Caught up on the supers. All right, moving on from Taylor. Let's hit up Winaldo real quick. Because Winaldo was responding to Thomas posting this bit about the difference between the sabbaticals.
No,
Winaldo, Donovan played 78% of U.S. men's national team matches during that time period, while Pulisic only played 60%.
Mm-hmm.
But how many major injuries did Donovan have?
Not a whole lot.
Pulisic missed almost an entire cycle of World Cup qualifying matches.
Yeah, from legitimate injuries. But I think Winaldo's point is, hey, it's easier for Lando to play games that are in the United States and World Cup qualifiers when it's a 4-hour flight, right?
Yeah, at most.
And for Pulisic, it's an all-day escapade.
Excursion, yeah.
To get there. So
halfway around the world. One lives in LA while the other lives in Milan. Come on, man. Think this shit through before you post.
But let's be really honest. Eric and Landon, they don't see eye to eye on some stuff.
The guy takes breaks to do stuff. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's personal. I don't like that it's getting all personal. It's certainly juicy for us finding out that feud's still going on. It's been going on for 15 years, and it's hard to believe that feud is still a thing. And then, I just think, God, wouldn't these guys lighten up on each other at some point? Guess not. All right.
Go back out. Hold on. There we go. So here's Eddie Johnson. I'm going to have you read this because you'll read it much faster than I will.
Yeah. LD came on. Man, we can't. Okay. LD, comma. Come on, man, comma. We can't question this man's love for representing his country. If you know CP, that kid wants to play every chance he can play. You were a healthy player and had a healthy and long-ass successful career. No one can deny that. And did a lot for the sport, and we salute you. However, CP has more wear and tear on his body as a younger age due to a lot of playing and the level that he's playing, and the traveling Champions League, domestic league, national team, and his past has become a burden onto his body. A career in MLS can't compare to the workload and travel player. Eddie should know that, whose entire career was in friendlies and qualifiers. Just can't compare. It's different. Whether the numbers are accurate or not, LD played in his career, club, and country 416 total appearances in 20-year span. CP's already got 336 for club and country in a 10-year span, and he's 26 years old. And those appearances are on European soil and big clubs with a lot of traveling in Europe and Europe to America over the years. We saw what the gold. Damn, this is long as fuck. He wrote a book. And Europe to America over years, we saw what the Gold Cup meant to him, and he's won one before. Did he? I didn't know Landon Donovan won a Gold Cup.
Landon Donovan? You mean Pulisic?
I mean Pulisic.
I mean, has Pulisic actually played in the Gold Cup? I mean, maybe he was maybe in his very young age, like when he was still battling into Dortmund.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he had.
Well, at least this doesn't sound personal. Let's make the main focus. World Cup is coming up. We need to have a healthy and strong roster, and we all know who the pressure is going to be on, and he needs to perform. We all got to do what's best for us as human beings first, like they put themselves first. And from a former player's perspective, we have all in our careers come to the point where the shit gets hard physically, mentally, emotionally, and psychologically, and we need him performing at the big stage when it matters. And I think it's smart to not risk our most important player at the tournament, where it's a time to find some hungry players looking to break into the team around this time. We know what he can do and what he brings to the national team, and he has proven already to show up at the big stage in the big games. Holy fuckaroni. That is a long-ass tweet. I would say that's all fine.
Solid breakdown, though, right?
It's fine. I would say that we're looking like prior to this, we were thinking there'd be 2 to 3 MLS guys make this whole team. Goalkeeper, maybe a center back. That's about it.
Luna.
Are we? And Luna at this point, but we're talking a few months ago, right?
No, I'd say Nations League, I still assumed at that point.
All right, take it back 6 months.
Fair enough.
All right. 6 months ago, I thought we pretty much knew who our 23 guys were, for the most part, outside a handful, 1-2 guys. Now we're talking about half the team or more being MLS guys. Are there really 6, 7, 8 slots open for the national team right now for non-European players? Boach seems to be saying, yes, there is. And if people are concerned about that, I can understand why they're concerned. Because that 6 months ago, no one would have thought that.
A couple people stamped their names, and we'll get into that in a sec, but yeah.
So things have changed. The times they are a-changing. Yeah, big time. Big time. I don't understand why I keep hearing some ex-national team players who work in the media criticizing Pulisic for not coming to Gold Cup. That decision is, by the way, Pochettino and him. It's mostly him. I know Pulisic loves to play for the USA, and he will represent us well in 2026. It doesn't sound like Pochettino understands it either, Hugo. And we love you, brother, but I don't think Pochettino was a big fan of it either. The only guy that didn't show up because he wasn't called was Sargent. I guarantee you, Sargent would have wanted to play.
Yeah.
So that one's on Pochettino. Jedi's on Jedi's injury. Wes and Weah carelessly, thoughtlessly not put on the friendly squads, unlike their teammates played in the friendlies for Turkey, but they weren't there. Kind of weird. Yildiz is there playing. One of the best players for Juventus, and he's going to play in the Club World Cup, was playing for Turkey. Isn't that fucking weird? Yet McKennie and Weah weren't there. Were they just not asked? Maybe so. Maybe Poch is sending a message. You don't value the crest enough. You come in, you want to play golf and have lunch with your parents and your buddies. So Poch isn't helping Pulisic or any of the other players because he's hammering that fucking message home hard. If he was concerned about injuries, he just would say it about Pulisic. Instead, he doesn't use names, but talks about these phantom players who don't care about the badge enough. That maybe there's a scab growing, as he put it, about like really committing, being fully committed to the team. And that gap is now far apart, as he put it. I'm trying to interpret the way he said it, but he said there's a gap now. And even Bertel Berhalter comes out and says, yeah, we kind of let them, that kind of was getting away from us a bit at Copa America. We were seeing that gap grow. We were seeing guys not truly there and focused. So, Poch isn't helping Pulisic by doing all these interviews. I can tell you that because he's never once mentioned the word hip flexor a single time.
I wonder if he can actually pronounce hip flexor, though.
He'd say hip flexor.
He got injury.
Hip this is you hip flexor. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's how he'd say it. Oh,
it'd be a hip fucker, right?
hip flecker. Flexor. How you say? All right. Brian V for $2. Poch sitting pretty after bringing in a shite roster. Yeah, I mean, obviously some of the guys that aren't there, he just didn't call them up. I can't imagine, but Josh Sargent must be somewhere at home in St. Louis thinking to himself, the fuck? Aguiman, did you see that performance? Holy shit.
Yep.
So I think we'll see Brian White or Damian Downs, hopefully, in the next game.
Well, and here's the other issue, because we're not in that topic. We kind of are jumping into that topic and everything like that. But, yeah, not a overly great performance by Aguiman, by any means.
No.
But what benefits him still is that he's got the Gold Cup. And he's got at least Haiti, not Haiti, sorry, I said Haiti before, Suriname, and he's got Trinidad and Tobago to really shine.
Saudi Arabia.
And Saudi Arabia too, but I'm just going for the easy, not easy buttons by any means, but still.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia is not going to be a walkover. I can guarantee it.
So, I mean, you can look at Turkey and say, well, they're a quality side. They've got quality. Argument not necessarily performing, could just be the fact that he was up against decent opposition. But all through the match, we had chances. We had opportunities. And that doesn't prevent him from not being able to hold up a fucking ball.
Yeah, he's got bricks for feet. Did you get that little video I sent you? Somebody put out about Aguiman?
Yes. I saw that, yeah.
God, you should have played it. That shit's hilarious.
Yeah, I could pull him up if you want, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, he had bricks for feet. It was like watching Zardes in the old days. Bricks for feet. Absolute bricks.
Us making a overall breaking analysis of the game as a whole when it comes to Aguiman is not to say that you couldn't go in there and say, well, that was a good play by Aguiman right there. But the overall arching analyst, in my opinion, was that he just wasn't it.
He's not good enough. He's not good enough. So I'm suspecting Brian White will start the next game.
I think he is more than capable of making a slotting run in and putting the ball away, but the other aspects of his game are wanting.
Yeah, they're off. It's just not good enough. And if it's not good enough against Turkey, it's not going to be good enough for the World Cup, because Turkey might not even make the World Cup, honestly.
Yeah. Nope.
So there's that. We get into McGlynn's goal. Anybody surprised by that left foot?
No.
Oh, I mean,
I called it
obviously,
before the game.
Turkey was surprised by it, but nobody else was.
I mean, I would never have predicted a 1 minute goal by any means.
But he's got a rifle.
U.S. Soccer did their damnedest to make sure my bank account on Sportsbet dwindled down to zero finally.
Oh, you got, if you zone in on this or zoom in, they can't get the fucking, is this Foot Mob?
I can't zoom in on a Twitter thing, but yes, it's Foot Mob.
That's so awful. They can't get any of the positions correct. None of them. They think McGlynn played center forward. Did they watch the game?
Cardoso's out right. Tillman's in the center. I mean, it's just like replace these four, I guess. Everybody else is fine, I guess. Nope. Robinson, Arfson, Freeman. Wow. They almost got nobody right.
They're so fucking. What are they?
People.
They got a fucking idiot running their website. This is not This is not rocket science, people. Get the players in the right position. It's not that hard. If they could do it over at US Soccer Way, you guys can do it too. All right, it's not that hard. They get it right 99% of the time. Go cheat. Go to US Soccer Way and cheat. Just copy and paste their formations on, because they're right. At least by halftime, they get it right. This is well after the game's over.
I mean, just looking at this, I know, McGlynn got his goal and Tillman had the assist, and both of them had opportunities throughout the match as well. But I'm kind of surprised that Luca De La Torre is listed as low as he is at 6.2.
I think Luca De La Torre had a lot of responsibility, first of all, because Cardoso in the first half was just off his game. But he did a lot of ball carrying forward in that holding mid position. And so, yeah, I'm a little surprised he's that low.
I think he was one of our more consistent players in the match.
I'd agree.
I think him, I think Adams, I think Richards.
Yep.
Aside from that, I mean, other people have had some highs, other people had some lows, and then you just had some ghosted performances. I'm sorry. I mean, there was all this hype around Freeman leading into the match, and I didn't see a goddamn thing from him practically.
Well, again, and I mentioned to you on the text during the game, I don't think that's on Freeman. I think it was pretty clear in the first half that he was supposed to play the Scally hold role, and he did.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't criticize anything against him, and I can't give him props for anything either, though.
Yeah, you can't give him that many props. He was fine on defense, but he didn't go forward at all, and that's because they had Arfson bombing up the other side, and so it looked like we were playing a back three again.
Yeah. Roka for $1.99 says, I know people don't like Arfson, but he did all right.
I think he did all right, but I also think he had two really good opportunities to put the ball. He blew the header completely. I don't know what that was.
He went for the header. The Turkiye guy kind of like pressed him a little bit, so he kind of freaked out and he headed it wide. But his second one did a great job chesting that down, and he tried to volley that in and everything like that. But you know what? Was literally about 5 yards towards the PK spot from him? Luca De La Torre.
Yeah.
And he was just like wide the fuck open. And if you just laid that off, I'm not saying Luca would have put it away. He might have missed it too. But that would have been the better opportunity.
Yeah. And then subs.
Like I said, Adams was still one of my more consistent players of the match.
Yeah. Oh, and I thought, as you said, Richards did fine. I thought Robinson had a moment there that was not good, or two.
And I know that we're probably getting dinged on this a bit, but the second goal is not completely his fault, but it was an off-balance attempted clearance, but it fizzled about 2 yards away from him.
All in all,
just connect with it.
This is kind of the performance I sort of expected. I mean, maybe even a little better than I expected. I thought we could have got creamed in this game.
I felt bad. Well, I felt bad for Freeze.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his team let him down on 2 goals. There's no chance of him actually getting 2.
Yeah.
This is yeah, to your point, this is kind of what you'd expect with a makeshift throw together team of players who really didn't necessarily play all that much together.
Right.
And you're playing against decent opposition.
I thought, frankly, it looked a little more organized than I thought. I still think too much back passing, too much sideways, and I know they do it on purpose to open the field, but what happened to Poach's comments before when he said, yeah, sometimes under pressure we fall back to bad habits, and that he was talking about kicking it backwards in the Berhalter era, kicking it sideways and backwards instead of moving forward. There I didn't necessarily see a big improvement, although there were moments where Tillman did some good stuff where he came back and stole the ball and we started moving forward. And then, unfortunately, a lot of the times when we had those sort of quick counters, we would have Luna try to feed in the ball into Aguiman, who would just immediately lose it. I think that happened 3 times, where he fed the ball into Aguiman and Aguiman lost it immediately or fell down to the ground.
From that argument, on that sense, it's one of those things where, like, we make this argument about when, like, Sargent makes his run and Pulisic or Weston or somebody doesn't feed him the ball, and we sit there and say, well, maybe they just don't trust him and they want to do it. They're going to do it themselves. Luna at that point was making the right decisions. It's just the player he was playing it to was sealing his own coffin in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, those were some pretty, I think, reasonable balls that Luna played to Aguiman. That he looked like, I don't know, like a fish. You know, when a fish flops around when you just catch it and pull it out of the water? That's what it looked like. And it looked totally unskilled and lacked any technical ability. I'm shocked with a guy with that size of frame can't hold up the ball better than that against a much smaller center back in Demeraux. I was just like, what's going on here?
I guess we have to kind of take away from the frame aspect, because yes, he does have the height to play a target striker. I don't know necessarily if he has the build for it, but it really depends on how the player grew up playing. We talk about Josie all the time. When Josie went to Europe, everybody looked at him and go, "Oh, dude, he'll be a baller target striker." But he's never played the target striker until he went to Europe.
Yeah.
So, all through his youth, he played that player who made the splitting runs behind defenses and the balls went through and he'd score goals. So, the same thing can be said about Augie in that sense.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just to say.
Go ahead.
Luna, I think my argument with Luna in this match, quite frankly, is not enough balls are really going through him. I think once he had the ball and he was making the move up, and maybe this is an argument of putting him more in that Tillman role, although I think Tillman had a better performance today than he did
any other
previous matches.
Yeah.
Definitely an upward trend for him.
It was an improvement.
I think having Luna in the middle, picking up more of the balls and looking for the distribution, that the final through pass would be a better suit for his skill set with the U.S. men's national team. Push Tillman out wide to that Luna role and let him just sort of sit up there and collect the ball and do something on the final third. But I think Luna's would be our go-to guy.
Maybe. I think Tillman did a good job, and I think he does a great job with that with PSV. So we're just waiting for it to happen here. Overall, I don't think we're really playing anything that different or anything that spectacular or I look at this and I go, this still could be Berhalter coaching the team.
But yeah, that was my big complaint about the match, because I don't necessarily find the doom and gloom that a lot of people had about this match. It's kind of what I expected. There's going to be a lot of heart on the pitch. People are going to really be trying. It wasn't going to be the cleanest match, although I thought it was cleaner than what kind of expected it to be. To your point,
I expected it to be a lot worse.
There was a lot of possession.
Yes.
I think we ended up having like 60-40. And of that 60, there were definitely some I would say this is what differentiated Berhalter ball in the sense that there was still looks to go forward, looks to push the ball through the middle, to runs through. You had Luna and Tillman looking for it. But there was just so much play throughout the game where people didn't want to try to make that final pass or that through ball or that cutting pass. And instead, you kind of just looked laterally, 10-yard pass over to Miles, up to Arson, back to Miles, over to Luca De La Torre, who gives it to Adams. And it's just that horseshoe ball that we talked about how it just fall back into.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of that still coming into play.
It's still too much of that for me. Was impressed with Adams when he came in. Loved the cross. Not sure how the fuck Tillman misses that header. I think
Tillman was shocked as shit on that one too.
I mean,
shocked that he missed it.
Straight at the keeper. He hits it anywhere else, it's going in.
Two-thirds of the goal was wide open. A simple glance. I mean, it's easy for me to say watching from my couch at home. But I mean, that's kind of what as a professional player, you should be. That should be the go-to. You should always be flicking it that far post.
Yeah, you cannot.
And he realized
opportunity. Yes, he did.
Like I said,
right.
Arson messed up 2 opportunities. Tillman missed a glaring opportunity.
And then the other glaring mistake, obviously, was Cardoso, which nobody felt you could tell worse about it than him. But I just don't understand his lack of sense there. Maybe he shouldn't have received the ball there, but I don't see, people said that, but I didn't see anything that bad about receiving the ball there. But there weren't a whole lot of options.
It was
true.
His issue was he took an extra touch.
If you would
have made the pass before that last touch, it would have been perfectly fine. But he took an extra touch, it got closed down, and he tried to force it.
Yeah. And he should have just hammered it up the field, straight up the field.
Or play it to the left to Miles, who was further over to the left.
Kind of open. He was open for a second, but that extra touch made that not the case anymore. You're right. Because that extra touch allowed the guy to close him down. So, I mean, the other problem with Cardoso is he didn't play well otherwise either. So it was all Luca De La Torre.
He had a couple decent passes in there, progressing forward. But aside from that, it was again just another game for Cardoso.
I was more impressed with Luca De La Torre.
Yes,
frankly,
100%.
And
if Adams wasn't injured against the Swiss, I would absolutely play De La Torre and Adams, and then put your creative people in front of them.
Right. The guy that covered this Yanks Abroad, we don't need to play it because we're way into this. All I would say is the tone of his show at the beginning, and he does a good tactical breakdown for the most part, just way too positive. Like, as positive as you can be or want to be about what you saw out there, it's still a little disappointing that this is all we're getting to see, right? Mm-hmm. For starters. Maybe he's already covered that. But, I mean, he was just so cheery for the first 15 minutes of the show. I had a hard time swallowing how positive he was about that game. I mean, I was fine with the game, but I didn't find that much positivity, honestly. I thought Cardoso didn't look any better than usual. I thought Aguiman proved he didn't belong on the pitch. I thought Luna got wasted because he kept passing it to Aguiman. I thought we saw the same sort of, okay, everybody else go forward. We'll play a back three. Freeman got basically tied to the sideline as a part of a back three when we had possession in their end, which is what we've been seeing for a while. So that's nothing new. Basically played the Scally role, except on the other side. And Arson misses 2 big opportunities. I don't know. I mean, it was fine. We lost the game. And you'll say, well, it's a friendly. It doesn't matter. True. But I think at some point, even with friendlies and with a team, you need to start winning, to start feeling good about yourselves.
So the overall arching gloss of the match itself, we had our opportunities, but we gave up a 2-minute window where we just couldn't recover from it, quite frankly.
Right, and that's the mentality We looked like deer in headlights after that first goal.
I mean, Freeze came up a couple times on some decent saves, like some hard hitting shots that would have gone in if he didn't make the save.
Yeah, Freeze.
Nothing overly testing for him, quite frankly.
He's fine with his feet too.
So if you take that's the one thing I noticed, quite frankly, and that's one thing I liked about it. But you take away those 2 minutes. If we shut that down, Cardoso never got dispossessed and that little fluky Duke goal go in. Does the game change completely? Because our mentality dropped after that first and second goal. Just
yeah, if that ball bounces off the Turkish player and just rolls to Freeze's hands, maybe we don't fall apart completely.
Yeah, I mean, after that second goal, we dropped completely in that first half. Second half came around, we got some replacements. Like I said, Adams came in, it kind of shored things up. We still maintained possession. We still created opportunities. There were still opportunities, though, that Turkey had. God, there was one play where we had a corner kick, and of course we didn't capitalize on it because we never capitalize on corner kicks.
Never.
But the ball got played out to a Turkey guy who took one touch and then played this 20-yard ball over the center. And it was 1v1. And I forgot who was even back on defense. And he did a good job slowing the play down and everything. We had 3 guys go right to the ball with this guy. And he played it off to the side to another Turkey guy who's running in who had the clear-cut opportunity. Why did 4 guys go to the ball?
Yeah.
And left the entire pitch wide open.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's still mental lapses that are occurring, and that's what's dangerous. Of course, it's obviously not an A squad by any means, but these things still happen. And in a game that I'm not going to say we dominated, but we maintained again possession. We had just as many good opportunities, flubbed it, but we just had these mental lapses that are just ruining our opportunities. Same thing happened in the Panama match. We had at least 2-3 opportunities we could have put away, but we didn't, and then they scored in the 94th fucking minute.
But that's more like mental lapses. What I saw out there in the game was not so much a mental lapse, but sort of confusion about who's responsible for what. And that's why you got 4 guys going to the same spot. It's like somebody's got to know this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
And so that is sort of still a mental lapse, right?
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you have 16 players infiltrate the roster that I don't think any of us foresaw this many MLS players being introduced this late in the game before the World Cup arrives on our doorstep in a year. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I'm not that excited about the game. I didn't get a Woody or anything. It's just that guy seems to have gotten really, really Yanks Abroad, I believe is the name of his page.
Yeah.
I got really excited about it. I'm not criticizing his coverage. I think he's fair. I just think he'll find it very difficult for a lot of people to swallow the first 10 minutes of a show because it's just so overall so positive. You're like, you didn't see anything wrong? In the first, it took you 15 minutes in your show to get to something that wasn't that impressive. I don't know. I would have started out with more of the overall feel, and then some of the things that I know now we don't need to do anymore. And that's start Agumon. Sorry, that's got to go. I always start out with the things we should not do going forward first, and then I get to finish with some positives if I can find some. And in this game, the positive is I thought we were going to get dominated, and we didn't. That's the positive. All right.
I mean, there's positive plays that occurred. I mean, we've got a long month here to keep analyzing how some of these players pan out. Like I mentioned with Freeman, with all the hype around him, didn't see anything. But again, like you said, that could just be Poach's decision to have him stay at home.
It was so obvious.
If that's the question, why even play an athletic back when you can just park McKenzie in there instead?
Well, we saw in the second half it change. So who came in for?
Harrell came out left for Arsenal.
There you go. And so Harrell ended up having to be the more stationary guy, and they let Freeman go forward in the second half. But it was just too late in the game. So we only got to see like 20 minutes of that. That's not enough.
It's just why, if you're going to have one stationary back at that point, why even have a back? Why not just play a 3-back line and then play with wingbacks?
Right.
The we could break it down because obviously Scally was more or less a center back anyways. And he practically plays that way for Gladbach, even if he's not a center back. But I mean, why continue to push it with a more athletic back?
Yeah.
Why not just put a center back in there? I don't know.
Either play a back 5 or don't, or back 3 or don't.
Yeah.
But this whole thing where you're getting off, look at, we're set up in a 4-2-3-1, but hey, man, when we play go forward, we play a 3, a 3-4-3 or whatever you want to call that. But it's not a 4-2-3-1 anymore going forward. It's 3 guys clearly sitting in the back and not moving and holding back the back 3. And I mean, listen, even Berhalter tried that. Remember when he tried it with Adams, playing as a right back who pinched in when they had possession, and we played a back 3. So we've tried that before. This is nothing new. I just like us to play a straight up 4-2-3-1 and let both wings have the option to go forward and have, well, we won't see Adams protect the back line against the Swiss because he's got foot herpes, but yeah, have the holding mid hold in front of the back 2.
Well, yeah. I mean, Luca De La Torre and insert somebody else now, obviously, that can play. But you have players who can assist the back 2, playing right in front of them.
Maloney could be here. He's perfect for that role, where the wings are allowed, the left back, right back are allowed to go forward, and then he kind of filters in as a part of the back 2 and makes it a back 3.
And his coach's defense for not calling him up, he played literally 1 minute in the second half of the season. So
I know, but that didn't matter for Turner. I'm just we're consistent. There are guys that don't play that get called up. So
I agree.
It's a goalkeeper. I get it. It's not the same position, but still, it's not consistent. All right. Should we pick a lineup for this Swiss game?
Yeah. Do I need to pull up the builder, or can we just do it off the top of our head? Let's
do a builder.
Okay, 1 second.
I'm better visually. Anyhow, thanks to all at 405 of you that were here tonight. We do appreciate it. If you missed the Pulisic part, I know some people are showing up late. We talked about it for a good long time. We gave you all the context. That was about, it's a while back in the show, but and make sure you hit like and subscribe. Share it with your grandma. Hey, give your stepsister a big wet kiss as she's there with you watching the show. We appreciate it. And again, we're going to try to do this lineup, but we're guessing. We're guessing.
Mm-hmm.
It's Poach.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't used the same lineup twice. So,
Rocket Bardella 99 wants to know, wasn't Luca one of the best for us? I think so. I think he was definitely up there.
I think so. I thought he had a really good game. I didn't have many complaints about Luca De La Torre. So many of you was saying, well, he didn't provide much in the final third. He's really not supposed to.
He never does.
In that position, and he doesn't anyhow.
That's the kind of the role that I see Musa should be filling, quite frankly.
He does with San Diego, though.
Yeah.
He's got multiple goals and multiple assists for San Diego this season.
He could have had a goal against Turkey if Arsene would have played it back to him, but
true.
Is what it is.
All right.
So starting in the back, I think Freeze gets another. I want Freeze to get another look.
You think he does, and then they start Turner in the Gold Cup?
Could be.
I think they need to warm Turner up, so I think he gets a start. Don't you think?
I definitely see Turner starting. I just want Freeze to get another look because I have 5.
Well, your guess is as good as mine, though.
It could be either. But we have 5+ years of Turner. I know what we get with Turner. But I guess to your point, you want to get him kind of fresh. Even if he is going to start in the Gold Cup or be a contender for the Gold Cup, he probably does need to get a look. I want Freeze to get more looks at this point.
And
I felt much more confident with him in there.
And if you're Poach and you're trying to be fair, you're going to give Freeze a shot. You're going to give Turner a shot, compare the results and compare the way they played and said, you know what? Freeze is better. I'm starting him at the Gold Cup. Right?
Yeah.
Arsene, I think that's a given at this point because unless you're going with
you know what it could be? It could be this right here.
Yeah, Tolkien. That's what I'm about to say. So
yeah, that was weird that Tolkien that Harold. I mean, it's maybe that he wanted.
He showed up to camp late.
That's true too, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, why wouldn't Tolkien come in for Arsene? But then again, to your point, you mentioned how Harold stayed back, and Freeman got the opportunity to roam forward. So
Yeah, I think we'll see Tolkien. I do. And then I'd like to see, and I don't know why we wouldn't, I think I'd like to see McKenzie and Richards the whole game together. Part of the Gold Cup. They seem like the best pairing to me.
I mean, hard to argue against Richards after his last match.
Well, McKenzie had a great second half.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good. So, and then
I mean, the other arguments. What is there? What other center backs are we got Zimmerman, Robinson. Who's the other center back? There's a fifth one, wasn't there? Ream.
Yep. I think Robinson got his shot. I don't know if he's going to get another one. Ream's old. He's there for leadership, I think.
Ream's old.
And he's not playing well for Clit. And then outright. Wow.
Who's our other right back besides Freeman?
I think it's going to be Freeman again. I don't see anybody else playing that spot.
Let's see here. The U.S. men's national team versus I'm trying to think of who the other one is.
Colin, I don't think it's the fact that he blocked the shot why people don't want Robinson back. For us,
it wasn't a shot; it was a cross. It was across the 6-yard box.
And then he tried to clear it.
So Robinson got taken out in the initial cross. He's getting up. The ball came back across the 6. He got a foot to it. Props for him to get up and immediately get onto that, I guess. But it went straight forward about 2 yards before the other guy got to it. It wasn't a shot. It wasn't a clear shot. It was across the box.
Yeah. And by the way, if you don't like our lineup, blame Poach. We're trying to do our best to predict what he's going to do. Like, if we got to pick our own lineup, I'm sure we might even play a 4-4-2. So it would be completely different from this.
Here, is he technically? He's technically back. He's a back, yes. Not a center back, but he's back, right?
Who?
Harriel.
Yeah, he's a back.
All right. So our backs options to are Tolkien, Arfson, Harriel, and Freeman.
I think Freeman gets another go.
Hopefully he gets freedom to actually do something.
He played.
Hopefully he's a free man.
Yeah, that could be how he got his name. Actually, historically, that's where that name comes from. Let's go to the 2 holding. Well, we can't have. God, do we give Cardoso another go? Because we're out. We don't have Adams.
All right, so we don't have Adams. We can go Sebastian.
I don't know. Is he starting though?
I mean,
I thought he would have gotten a few minutes.
So Poach might give Cardoso another chance to try to get him over that flub.
But I doubt it. He doesn't seem to give second chances if you disappoint him.
Paxton Aronson maybe.
Paxton had played this spot many, many, many times during the season for Utrecht. Many times.
I think it's unless he gives Cardoso another chance, which I don't know if he will. This match at least. Obviously, he's got him the Gold Cup, so it doesn't matter. But it's going to be down between Paxton and Sebastian, I imagine, since Adams is injured.
Yep. So I'm going with Paxton because Paxton. No. Wait a minute.
Real quick, Colin does say you could play Richards at DM. It's true. He has played there before.
He did for Crystal Palace for quite a while. Yeah.
I wonder if Poach would look at that going, I want to solidify my center backs.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do it. Yeah, I don't.
He could though. You're right, Colin. He could play. He could play him at 6, 100%.
But I don't think he's going to. That's very un-Poach like. So I think it's Luca De La Torre and Sebastian Berhalter. Not really a holding mid to me. I think.
Luca could have the responsibilities of playing the back, and then Sebastian played more of the Weston McKinney.
That's
and the box to box.
We're playing Switzerland. You really want to experiment with Berhalter starting?
Paxton got called in at the very last second.
Okay,
the only other option at that point is Cardoso.
It is. I think it's going to be Cardoso again. I don't think he gives up on him. That looked like a planned substitution, by the way, with Adams anyhow.
At halftime?
Yep. I don't think he yanked him because he had a bad half.
Do you think it was planned for either Luca De La Torre or Cardoso, not necessarily one or the other?
I don't know.
Like, maybe he was going to feel it out and see which one's playing better?
I don't know. Because he doesn't talk about those things. So.
No, Colin's saying that he said it was, so. I don't know if he being Adams. Okay, he said Adams for Cardoso is a planned sub.
That's what I thought I heard.
And Tony says those Poach said it was planned. Yeah, so, okay.
Okay,
so, yeah,
good.
I see. Okay, then at that point, I'm saying Cardoso, yeah.
Yep.
I have a feeling that Adams probably would have started this match.
I bet you Luna's there again. And I bet you Tillman starts at CAM again. The question is, who's going to play out wide right?
Well, I mean, McGlynn had a up and down game.
Yep.
He
scored, though.
He scored, and he at least took chances from outside the box, which is something I've been crying to the heavens for.
Yeah, I
finally shoot the ball outside the box.
And I do love that about him, that he's got a gun and he's willing to fire it.
Vespijo? No. He says Brendan. Could be Brendan Aronson.
Could be Brendan. Could kind of be.
I don't think Quinn's starting there.
Berhalter plays kind of outright for Vancouver.
Oh, I thought he played centered. Oh.
He plays right center midfield for Vancouver. I don't know. They play a 4-3-3, I believe, so it doesn't really match up with this very well. Yeah. I'm gonna say Brendan, probably. Surely you don't bring Brendan Aronson and don't give him a warm-up game before the Gold Cup.
I don't know. McGlynn, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's McGlynn again, to tell you the truth.
I wouldn't either.
But let's pray that we see this guy. Dark Brendan.
Let's hope that's what we get.
Not just Brendan. Dark Brendan.
Right. And for me, this is Haji Wright or Brian White. But it seems to me he's pretty convinced Haji should play out left.
Yeah, I hear that too. I would like to see Haji give the opportunity to play an actual out-and-out striker, and not just. Nice. I mean, he must be a listener of the show, and he wants to make me crow because he did get back a number of times throughout the match. Not all the way back in defense, but as far back as one needs to get as a winger in this squad. But yeah, I'd like to see him get an opportunity as an out-and-out striker because he has the target role. I mean, Brian has that as well, but I think Haji's done it at a higher level.
Yeah, this is a total toss-up to me between Brian White and Haji Wright.
I would like to see Downs get some fucking minutes here.
Me too. But if White or Haji start, I still don't know if we'll see Downs because then if Haji starts, White's coming off the bench for him in the 70th or the 65th, you know?
I mean, he's got to at this point take a look at Downs if you call him in. But, I mean, you could honestly play Downs as what Haji's been doing anyways at the left or right.
Well, he seems to prefer a big-ass guy in the middle, and so that leaves you Haji and Downs. They're both giant mammals as well. Unless Brian White's just been really impressive in practice.
It's possible.
You want to just flip a coin on this? Because that's about the chance we got to be getting this right.
Coin flip simulator.
Haji Wright is heads.
I haven't flipped yet. I haven't flipped yet.
Oh,
I just defaulted that. Okay, so Haji Wright is heads.
Yep. Brian White's tails.
White is tails.
Yep. Okay, Brian White it is.
White it is.
And you know what? They're complete. It's completely possible. Both of them are.
I absolutely think this is how Poach picks some of his roster.
That's definitely how the great one picks his teams.
Yeah.
He says, "Yeah, just flip a coin." I wake up in the morning and I throw darts against the board. Is that what Marino said? I put the players on my dartboard, and then I throw darts. I blindfold myself and throw darts against the board, and whoever hits, that's who plays. Because they just were all over his nutsack about how he picks his team. He's like, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not getting into that here. All right. So there we go. The coin says Brian White. We should have flipped for every position and see how close we got. Just pick two guys for every position and flip a coin and see how close we got. All right. Well, that's what our best guess of what Poach will do. I mean, it's really impossible to say. There's 16 new players in this roster. Not brand new, but MLS guys. So
B-Mar says, got to start Brian White and Sebastian Berhalter together.
I mean, that sounds like a totally rational thing to do, BMR.
Maybe Brendo doesn't start, and
I'd love to see. I want to see Paxton. I want to. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it. What I want. So far, I was shocked McGlynn started right winger. I mean, I understood why. I'm like, wow, he did it because of that fucking golden left foot. But
yeah,
and I got the roster and looked at it. I'm like, what the fuck? McGlynn's playing right winger. I see what he's doing.
I thought there, I kind of assumed that maybe he pinches into the middle and you play with 2 10s and then Aguiman up top. But yeah,
I mean, he pinched in. I mean,
he pinched into the middle when he's at the
once he got box. The ball. Yeah. Now the thing is, it's like, when are people going to figure that out, right? Because once you figure out that's what McGlynn does, then you just give him the right. You say, you want to take the ball down the line? Go for it, dude. Use your right foot. But I'm not letting you cut in and use your left. And we saw that yesterday with Portugal on Lamine Yamal, right?
Yeah.
Spain's like, hey, you can go down the line if you want, but we're not letting you cut in and use your left foot. We're not going to let you do it. He still tried it anyhow.
You mean Portugal is like that?
Portugal's defense.
Yeah, you said Spain.
Shut down Yamal yesterday.
Yeah.
By just not letting him go to his left. No, I'm not going to let you do it. And he still tried, and he still got shots off. One was blocked, and one was right at the goalkeeper, and one was high. But they were not letting him cut in. They're like, we'll triple cover you, and you can have the line, but we are not letting you cut in. So, all right. I think that's going to do it for tonight. It's been a long one, 2 hours and 40 minutes of absolute insanity for the 412 of you that were here at one point. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with your grandma. We do appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow night for live coverage and call of the United States versus Switzerland game. Feel free to join us. We'll try to set up a clock so you can, synchronize the game with us. If we can even
try to synchronize the game with each other.
Yes, ourselves. We'll see how much of a pain. And that's on TNT again?
Yep.
Okay.
Peacock, Max.
All right. So it won't be long. We'll be back on air. Until then, kiss your stepsister on the ear and tell your grandmother to have a great night. And we'll see you Tuesday. Good night.
That hurt.
I want to play in Europe. What the hell does that mean, right? Because Europe could be Latvia, Luxembourg.
No one's talking about Latvia or Luxembourg, dumbass.
So you don't want to just shove it in there. Start with the smaller finger, especially if this is the first time. Start with the smaller finger and go slow.
I mean, there's a lot of things that need to change.
Honey, eating it is the best thing that you can do for your man.
I want people to realize I'm just human. I'm just human, and I make mistakes.
So this guy, Derek, wants to know, is putting your tongue in an ass really the thing to do?
Yeah, it feels really good.
Yeah, just it's a weird one, I think.
And I know you want me to toss your salad too, don't you?